Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC Super League, and this is round 10 of 16 in the 2026 Superleague Championship. As you can see, we're at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix, just as the real world of Grand Prix racing was at the weekend. And I'm joined today by Ross McIntyre. Ross, this is going to be quite an interesting qualifying session. We've already started it, but the reason I say it's going to be quite interesting is because this really matters, much more than I'd say any other circuit on the calendar, don't you say?
I'd agree with you there, Caitlin. Yes, hello everyone, welcome back to GPVWC. Good to be alongside you once again, Caitlin, as well. It's been too long, given life getting in the way.
It really has.
But yeah, this pace, obviously not to go over the cliches, but we'll get it out of the way quickly. Known as Monaco without walls, it's very, very difficult to overtake around here at the Hungaroring. Lots of medium speed corners, very, very high downforce setup required. Obviously in sim racing, it's a little bit easier than it is in real life. You get overtakes more naturally, more fluidly in sim racing, but it is a very crucial qualifying session, and there's already been hushed whispers of the pain train that we're going to be getting in the race, so should be crucial. And it's also going to be an interesting qualifying session because the live timing's down, so we are running off of what you can see on your picture on the timing tower on the left hand side of the screen, where apparently it's Yannick Bok currently on provisional pole, but it's very, very tight at the top at the moment with about 5 minutes left to go, so it's all to play for early doors. But as you said, Caitlin Penny, very, very crucial qualifying session, potentially the most important one of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was saying this in the Super League broadcast the other day, or saying this when watching the Super League, Super Lights broadcast, because on that occasion we had 8 drivers covered by a quarter of a second. In this, it looks like we have down to 15th position, all covered. Okay, now make that 13th position, because Jarl Tyen goes to the top of the order by just 12 thousandths of a second. But what I was saying before the broadcast is that this is a track where you get very narrow margins, making big differences. So if you make the slightest of mistakes in this qualifying session, obviously the lap is quite short, just 1 minute 15 if you're doing it right, and that means of course that the slightest of mistakes is going to take you right the way down the order. You do get a few more chances at your qualifying lap here than you would at, say, Spa, where we were last time, but your lap has to be perfect, because with such a short lap every mistake is going to absolutely ruin it. Yannick Bok, by the way, is retaliating. He's faster than Tyen in the first sector, down quite a bit in the second sector. He might actually be coming back into the pits here, and he is. And the reason I knew he was going to do that is because of the amount of time we've got left on the clock. This is normally the bit where the drivers peel into the pits and set up for one final flying run. You want to be on track right when the timer ticks to 0. As I was saying at the start, I'm joined today by Ross McIntyre. My name is Caitlin Penny. It has been a little while since we've been in the broadcast booth together. Probably, was it Saudi the last time? Because I was away for a little while, and then you were away as well.
It might have been Saudi.
I think it was Saudi. That's, my goodness, it really has been too long. But yeah, I'd also like to say a big thank you to Fabian Youngblood for jumping into our broadcast booth at the last minute and becoming our impromptu cameraman for this event. We couldn't do it without our cameramen and the people who make this all happen. Meanwhile, Owen McGorgy goes to the top of the time. Now, we knew that he would be quick today. The reason we knew that is because in the last few races, all of the teams have been using their fresh engines. They've all been using their fresh engines for races like Spa, which makes a lot of sense, because obviously with long straights, those are called power tracks, and you really need to have the power to make the laps work. McGorgy is one of the only drivers to have a completely fresh engine in his vehicle. He's actually returning. He's had 3 races off Super League, so welcome back, Owen McGorgy, and he goes to the top of the time with his attempt there. 1:15.410 is now the lap to beat. Sergio Fletcher, coming out of the final corner, goes up to 3rd position. So the two Valley Esports are now separated by just 3 thousandths of a second. And Fletcher will be hoping to recover from an unfortunate DNF that he suffered last time out at Spa, which dropped him from 2nd to 3rd in the championship standings. Ross, we're now looking at Younes Kerala. I believe this is his first outing this year in Super League, because he's in the Super Venturi car that has been held by Jukka-Pekka Lalu at previous rounds. Whoa, yes, and a big spin.
Well, luckily that's right in front of the pit lane entry line, and he will have time to go back out, so he can rescue that one at least and go again. Yeah, obviously we know that Jukka-Pekka Lalu decided that it was best for him to step away going into the latter phases of the season. Whether that was a decision I disagree with personally, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to stop him. He felt like it was better maybe to have somebody else in the car and pushing for Super Venturi, and with Jan Grankvist returning a couple of rounds ago as well. So a bit of a change there. We do have a couple others joining us on the grid with a bit of a mix-up here and there. I'm sure we'll have time to run through it all during the warm-up session, because we've got 10 minutes to figure out what's going on and who is where. It is currently Omar Gorgi ahead of Alessandro Maggio by a tenth of a second, who himself is only 3 thousandths ahead of his teammate in Sergio Fletcher, who I know has Alex Laho as his engineer this evening. So that is, well, a losing combination if I've ever seen one. Jarl Tyne has gone back to the pit lane. So Tyne is not going to improve on this final lap. He's decided he's had enough. The Norwegian vice-champion last year still searching for a maiden win in 2026, and he's going to be starting at best P4 in this one. But it could all change later on in the session, because we've got some big names that are very far down the grid. Yes, Caitlin, the engine wear is going to be having an effect, but the likes of Jan Grankvist down in P13, Tom Stevens, who won this race last year, yes, worn engine, he is absolutely nowhere at the moment.
Yeah, Tom Stevens, I can't even see where he is on the... Oh, he's 24th. Goodness me. That is not a good qualifying for him, and I would be surprised if his teammate stays there in 4th position, because this is the track. This is the point where the track is at its most grippy, the very end of the session. We said we'd get the cliches out of the way, but no, you want the most rubbery track that you can possibly get. Oscar Soltero here, improving on his own time. Obviously, with the live timing being down, it's difficult to see exactly where he's going to end up, but looking at the split, it's going to be looking around 15th position potentially. That is a total guess, but he's very slidey through that penultimate corner there. There's not much grip on the outside of that corner, so he may struggle to improve on this time. Comes out of the final corner now, the teammate to our championship leader and world champion Loic Mounier, and does not improve on his own time. He's only 4 tenths off the top, but that shows you just how much of a difference those 4 tenths can make. And his teammate Loic Mounier is still only in 12th position. Oh, another big twitch on that penultimate corner, the one that I was just talking about that doesn't have much grip offline. Well, that's exactly where Loic Mounier found himself there. Now he comes out of the final corner, but it doesn't matter, because by 3 thousandths of a second, Loic has managed to pull something out of the bag and go to 1st position. He spins the car around, which he actually got into a bit of trouble with at the end of the last race. He spun the car around before safely navigating the first corner and ended up picking up a warning for that, but no penalty coming into today. Tom Stevens now crosses the line. He is still only 24th. So last year's winner of this Grand Prix really struggling for pace, and he will start all the way down the order. We've seen in the past. And look at Xavi Ross's lap now as he comes out the final corner. He's fast in the first sector, goes 4th. Another very good lap there for Xavi Ross. But yes, Tom Stevens, like I said, really struggling there. And it's not panic stations yet. We've seen in the past, THR especially, have been able to salvage things from lowly positions. And at the last race at Spa, almost every driver in the top 10 started the race outside of the top 10. But I very much expect a different thing today, because obviously there were external circumstances in that, with that being the weather and also drivers making mistakes in qualifying. Talking of qualifying though, that is the lot, and Owen McGorgy has set the fastest time in the dying stages of the session. 1 minute 15.312, that is how you return to Super League. So Owen McGorgy takes pole position. Loic Mounier will be 2nd. Maciej Młynek is 3rd, so you got 1st and 2nd in the championship there, 2nd and 3rd in the order. Xavi Ross is 4th, then it's Maggio and Fletcher, the 2 Valley Esports cars, starting side by side. Jan Grankvist is in 7th position, followed by Jarl Tyne. I said he'd struggle to stay in 4th position, and he has dropped to 8th. Yannick Bock is 9th. Mark Schluter is 10th for the time being, although he has a 1-place grid drop for also failing to complete the first corner after completing the last race. The reason that he got a penalty for that and Mounier didn't is because it was Schluter's 2nd warning, whereas it was Mounier's 1st. But the reason it wasn't a very harsh penalty is because, to be honest, it was harsh giving him a penalty in the first place, considering he was out of fuel. So that's the reason that he didn't complete the necessary amount of track after completing the race. Jose Soriano then will move up into 10th position. Norbert Jakob will start in 12th. then it's Tomasz Vok. Carlos Martin, only 14th. He was on the podium in the last race, directly ahead, of course, of Lucas Murno, who is in 15th position. Philip Pushke is 16th. He has a fairly fresh engine, so look out for Philip Pushke, especially on this start. Ruben Machedi is 17th, then it's Jeffrey Fournier. Machedi and Fournier, I believe, also have relatively fresh engines. Dylan Fisher is 19th. Mateusz Majka is in 20th position. Majka was very good in the Super Lights race the other day, but I think qualified in 3rd position, if I remember correctly, or at least finished in the top 3 when all was said and done. Let's take a look at the last slate of results, if that's okay, where you'll see Oscar Soltero. We saw him completing that lap. Che Hatch, the rookie driver for Red Archer. Aros Masculi, Tom Stevens, who will be very disappointed with that, I'm sure. Tom Vandervoort, P25. Danny Amaritz is P26. Jonas Karala is P27. And yes, this is his first Super League start of the year. I'm currently trying to work out whether it's his first Super League start full stop. And then Shimon Frelich was the only driver who failed to set a qualifying time in the second TOP Esports car. So Ross, that was qualifying, and the top 11 cars separated by a quarter of a second.
Yeah, very, very tight. Looks like there was some sort of hardware issue on the rig, I believe, for Shimon Frelich. Just trying to find out what went wrong, but he's put a comment through saying he's not exactly impressed with what went down. So clearly some issues for Shimon there. That was not a willing choice to start from the back without a time. There's no outstanding penalty for him coming into this one. So a very interesting qualifying session. Again, potentially the most crucial one of the year as well. And it's all a change with engines all over the place at the moment and things like that. Some people have fresh engines, most people don't. And that's why you'll maybe see a couple of drivers out of order. But we've got 70 laps to enjoy around here at the Hungaroring. And I know some people maybe will be kind of sighing, oh, 70 laps at this place, it's all going to be very dull and it's going to be a pain train and whatever.
Never.
I think this is I think this is potentially one of the most interesting races we have on the calendar, especially from a sim racing perspective, where it normally is just mental back and forth, as you do tend to get in sim racing in general, not just in GPVWC. You get a real strategy battle on your hands, and drivers and having to work with engineers, having to work with teams, and keeping basically one eye on the timing screens at all time to figure out where everyone is. With the temperature that we've got as well, don't have accurate temperatures for you right now, again, because our live timing is unfortunately down. But, oh, we do. Track temp 54. Good Lord above. That is warm. You could fry an egg on that thing. I was going to estimate it was about 45 because the air temp's about 35 at the moment. We are in another heat wave here in Europe. God help us. At that point, first of all, your tyres are just going to fall off immediately. They're just going to shred themselves to death. Second of all, as well, it's actually too hot, really, for racing at that point. So actually the track starts to get very, very slippery when you go above a certain temperature threshold. So it doesn't just wreak havoc on the tyres, it also makes it very difficult for the tyres to grip up. So there's not going to be a lot of grip out there for the drivers. We know that a lot of them are down on power in regards to the engine. Of course, you've got to navigate turn one and hope nobody does a Valtteri Bottas. It could be a really interesting race, this one. I'm fascinated to see what happens this evening.
Oh, I absolutely could, and I totally agree with you that the Hungarian Grand Prix is not necessarily a dull one. I actually disagree with the cliche that it's Monaco without the walls. Where on Monaco do you see a straight like this, for example? I think maybe once upon a time, Hungary was a bit more like Monaco without the walls. It used to have even more artificial chicanes than it does now, believe it or not. There used to be one down at turn 3. And I think over time it's been smoothed out a little bit, and I think it's more like a traditional race circuit nowadays. A rare example of a racetrack actually getting faster over time, as opposed to them drastically trying to slow the drivers down. To give us a tour of this race circuit, we have a quite interesting hot lap today. It was supposed to be Norbert Jakob taking us around a lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix, in, of course, his True North racing car. And we have managed to get that, but unfortunately, due to a little bit of a glitch, something to do with the mod, he is going to appear to be driving a very fast BMW road car. So please enjoy this rather strange-looking hot lap as Norbert Jakob takes us around his home circuit.
Hi everyone, I'm Norbert Jakob, driving for True North Motorsport car number 10, and tonight I have the pleasure to take you on a lap around my home track in Magyarország. The car reaches nearly 320 kph on the main straight before arriving to the primary overtaking spot on this track, turn number 1. At the exit, be patient with the throttle. As soon as we are flat out, open up the RS, blasting down towards turn 2, a very awkward left-hander. Make sure not to touch the apex as the track is extremely bumpy there. After turn 3, you can have a quick rest before arriving to my favorite section of the track, turn 4 and 5. Mansell is completely blind, don't hit the inside curb. Take a late apex in the next right-hander and watch out for the gravel on the exit as we approach the chicane. Make sure not to touch the yellow curb on the inside, unlike me. Next up is the trickiest section of the lap, the S's that can make or break any qualifying lap. Precision of every input is key here. This part ends with a easy. You lift off the throttle a bit, but make sure not to eat too much curb on the outside, otherwise you will find yourself in the wall just like me last year in Superlights. Turn 12 is a 90-degree right-hander with a tricky traction zone as we come to 13. The rears are already overheated at this point, so be as careful as possible with the throttle. Coming around the final corner, try to carry as much speed as possible without sliding. Open up the RS, and this was a lap around the Hungaroring.
So, what a car that was, eh? My goodness. Of course, the GPVWC Super League car is modded by the likes of Alex Folks with a lot of help from a lot of other people. Chris Williamson had a hand in it, for example. But Alex, for example, was the main modder of the car. And it's not supposed to look anything like a BMW road car, but I guess that's what we ended up with. Anyway, we are currently in the middle of a warm-up session, so we just have to wait a little bit longer before we can actually see some competitive racing action. But Ross, you mentioned before the air temperature and the track temperature, and that's what's going to be melting these tyres. I still can't quite believe that that's true, that we've got 54.5 degrees Celsius on track today. But yeah, those tyres are going to be absolutely melting. And to be honest, I was expecting, coming into today, I was asking some people about the strategy, and they were saying, 2 stops are potentially possible. It's more likely going to be 3 or 4 stops. I would lean, just for track position, I'd still lean towards a 3-stop, but I don't think we're going to see much of the soft tyres. I just don't think they're going to be viable in this temperature. Do you concur?
I would probably agree. I mean, I'd estimate they are running probably the hardest tyres that they have available to us this year. I'll just double check that. I normally have this pulled up ready to go, and I've forgotten this evening because I'm absolutely useless. So give me a second to go and find what tyres we're on in terms of what compounds and the like. But yes, I would expect that the soft tyre probably will not be the tyre of choice this evening. There we go, there's the tyre compound graphic. If it just pulls up, there we go. Here we are at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and yes, it is going to be the... actually, it's the softest compounds. We've got C5, C4, C3s. So yeah, not a lot of the softs, I don't think, because that is going to melt them, to put it bluntly. I mean, 55, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's got to be a record or near it, surely, in terms of the hottest track temperature we've ever had. It's certainly the hottest track temp I've ever seen in GPVWC. And we've got to remember as well, it's not just the track temp and the air temp as well that's going to cause havoc for the engines, for the tyres, etc. It's also for any, European-based driver. The air temp for themselves as well is going to be pretty brutal. I mean, I've got a sweat on right now and I'm just standing up in my bedroom. It's going to be tough for the drivers. The Hungaroring is a very, very physical circuit. Lots of corners that are back to back to back. You're constantly on the brakes and on the throttle, turning on the brakes again. So they're going to be working very, very hard. So fatigue might be something we need to start considering as well. I know it's something that we've brought up a couple of times across this season, just for the fact that Europe's just been in heatwave after heatwave after heatwave. Apparently, Keir Starmer lodged the weather machine button on his way out of the door at number 10, apparently. So, yeah, we're blessed with horrendous temperatures at the moment in England, certainly. But yeah, we do need to bear in mind that if anyone hasn't got a fan pointed directly at their face and lots of cool water, fatigue could really start to be a thing. Dehydration could really start to be a problem for some of the drivers out there. So especially later in the race, I think we will start to see a lot of mistakes from a lot of people. Not going to name any names or anything, it's just a generic thing, but it's going to be tough for these drivers out there to deal with these conditions, both in the game and in real life as well.
Yeah, it's an underrated part of sim racing, the mental fatigue that you sometimes go through, and the weather can definitely add to that. I mean, I've been driving home from work the last few weeks, and I've been having to stop at a petrol station on the way home simply to get myself a drink, to refuel myself, not even my car, just refuel myself so that I don't literally fall asleep behind the wheel. And obviously, sim racers are going through a little bit more adrenaline. Hopefully that will keep them awake just a little bit more than that. But you still have the same kind of fatigue. You still have the same kind of, the track becomes a ribbon and you just get into this beat. And it does drain you. It really, really does. I always find the worst place for that as a sim racer is probably Singapore, or another place where you're under the lights, for example. Your brain tricks you into thinking you're actually racing at night, for example, and it just gets to you. But also, when you see that it's really hot in game and it's hot outside your window, you are going to feel the effects of that as well. So I would not be surprised if this is a rather unpleasant experience for some of the drivers in some of the hotter regions of the world right now, providing they don't have a fan pointed directly at them. How are you doing, Russ? You keeping hydrated and all of that? You ready to start?
Trying my best. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just a bit tired in general. I've been very busy with work recently and, you know, driving up and down the country, chasing after bikes and things. But I'm ready. I'm excited to be back. I missed the last one out at Spa, unfortunately, but I'm ready and raring to go. It is checkered flag, of course, in the warm-up, which only means one thing, Caitlin Penny. It means we are moments away from round 10, the Hungarian Grand Prix here in GPVWC Super League. And we have got one interesting spectacle ahead of us this evening, even if the on-track action may not quite be the most exciting thing for the TikTok brain-riddled youth of today. We've still got a hell of a race on our hands, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Keep your eyes on what the drivers might be about to do rather than what they are doing in the moment. We're going to very quickly run over the championship just while we have a chance to do that before they get going on their formation lap. At the last race, Loic Meunier extended his advantage. He's now 25 points ahead of anyone else. That is, of course, a race win's worth. So nobody else can take the lead of the championship today. That's solely in the hands of Loic Meunier. Maciej Winnick did take second place in the championship in the last race. He was only a few points behind Sergio Fletcher, and then Fletcher retired with Winnick going second. Fletcher is still third in the championship on exactly 100 points. Carlos Martin, sorry, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. Carlos Martin is fourth place, courtesy of his podium last time out. Jarl Tyen is fifth. Jan Grankvist is sixth and would be much higher had he not missed 3 races. Norbert Jakob, who returns to Super League after one race off, is seventh in the championship. 1 point ahead of last year's winner here, Tom Stevens. And then Mark Schluter is ninth, and Yannick Bock is in 10th position. Yannick also returning after a race off. And I was just saying to Ross before the start, look out for Yannick today. He won the race just a couple of rounds ago, and considering he's starting inside the top 10 today, I would not be surprised if Yannick can do something from there. But yes, the warm-up session has now come to a close. We're just waiting for the cars to make their way out for their formation lap, and then we can talk you through the grid and the starting order for the 2026 Hungarian Grand Prix. Welcome back, everyone. You can see I've done that slightly early because you can see the cars are still making their way out onto the grid.
I think that's probably the best one we've done all season in terms of there were actually cars getting onto the grid when it ended. So
it's difficult to time, especially when you don't have race view, but you know what it is. And anyway, whatever. But yeah, beautiful grid of cars here. They extend right the way back to the exit of the final corner, and away they go now in a slightly strange order, with one car veering off into the middle of the track on their formation lap. Let's take a look at how they stand, if that's okay. I've noticed some questions in the comments about how about where certain people have qualified, and we can answer that very quickly for you guys. So on pole position was Owen McGorgy on his return to Super League after 3 races away. Loic Meunier Mounier is in second position, the championship leader, and then it's Maciej Winnick and Xavi Ross on third and fourth position. Alessandro Maggio and Sergio Fletcher, the two Valley Esports cars, go off with fifth and sixth. And then it's Jan Grankvist and Jarl Tyen, the two drivers who were battling for that runners-up spot in last year's championship. Yannick Bock is P9, followed by Jose Soriano, Mark Schluter and Norbert Jakob, so the two True North drivers, starting 11th and 12th, including Norbert in his home race. Tomasz Vok is 13th, then it's Carlos Martin, Lucas Murno and Philip Pushke, the top 16. Philip, of course, a former champion. Look to see what he can do from there. Ruben Machedi is P17, Jeffrey Fournier is P18, so that answers a question that Chris Shepherd had of where Jeffrey Fournier will be starting. And then we have Dylan Fisher and Mateusz Majka starting 19th and 20th. Oscar Soltero is 21st, then it's Che Hatch, Eros Masculi and Tom Stevens, who will have a job to do there to defend his win from last year. Tom van der Voort is P25, then it's Davi Amarit in just his third Super League race. Younes Caruala making his Super League debut, and I have confirmed that actually, this is his Super League debut, going from 27th position, and Shimon Frelick goes off the very back of the grid after missing the last race, and then unfortunately missing qualifying as well. Just a quick word on Caruala there. He has not even, I'm trying to look, he hasn't even driven in Super Lights before. So, Ross, that's a massive step up. He has done relatively well in some of the lower championships. He has podiums from FS2, for example. But going straight up to SL1, that's a really big step.
Yeah, in at the deep end of it for Younes Caruala. Welcome to the World Championship, my friend. Hopefully everything goes okay for you this evening. And wishing you all of the best as the front runners are making their way into their grid slots. Shimon Frelick, of course, starting from the pit lane. Haven't been able to identify what went wrong with him in qualifying, but again, I'm presuming there was some sort of a hardware issue on his end that prevented him from going out onto the track during qualifying. But we've got all cars on the grids, and it's all eyes to the lights, Caitlin.
Absolutely, we prepare for the start of the 2026 Hungarian Grand Prix, which is underway now. Watch for Owen McGorgy from the grippier side of the grid. Can he get clear? He does, right from the start. You can see now Mounier and Winnick side by side behind him as they all pile down into turn one, and look for the move. Mounier goes to the inside, absolutely launches it. Gets up the inside, but it's McGorgy who gets the run out of the corner and keeps that first position. Mounier leads, McGorgy leads, followed by Mounier, and then it is Winnick in third place. Ross and Fletcher. Little bit of a twitch in the mid-pack there from one of the Road Formula cars. Tomasz Vok had a little bit of a sideways moment there, but got away with it just about. And I don't see any contact. It looks as if we're all through the first four corners at least, with all of the front wings still attached and everything like that. Little bit of contact there between... and off in the background goes one of the FTR cars. One of the Fraser Tartan racing cars has bounced off the barriers, and it's Mateusz Majka, who's also been for a spin and dropped right down to the tail of the field. A shame for Majka there, but at least he still has his wings and his wheels, so he can carry on in the race. What a frenetic start there, and Loic Mounier really had to try something. Went for a dive into turn one, but it didn't quite end up paying off. Let's see if he can slip through McGorgy on the straight, Ross.
Try to the inside, but turn one at Hungary. It's one of those corners where it's actually a little bit beneficial to run wider because you need to straight line the exit as much as you possibly can. So get that power down, run it wide to carry the momentum onto that, almost a short shoot down into turn number two. And it looks like that McGorgy is going to maintain that lead as we head on to the second lap of this contest. It's McGorgy, Mounier, Winnick, Maggio and Xavi Ross as your top five. 5 different teams occupying the top 5 slots on the grid before Sergio Fletcher goes and ruins our farm, being in P6 for Ballet Esports. Jan Grankvist, solid start from the 2024 World Champion. He's up to 7th, Jarl Tyen up into 8th place as well. Again, still searching for his first win of the season. Owen McGorgy up the front is doing similar. Of course, did win the race on the road at Australia, the opening round of the season, but a post-race penalty following that collision between himself, Grankvist and Mounier dropped him down to P8 at the end of the race. He's had a couple rounds off. He's recharged his batteries. He was one of the few guys that took a holiday to Japan, the likes of Grankvist, Sandeep Singh there with them as well. So had that time away, sat back, relaxed and enjoyed themselves. He's come here with a fresh engine and he's come here with a vengeance. He wants to win this race and is laying down an early benchmark.
Yeah, that fresh engine. Of course, it won't help him quite as much as it will at other tracks such as Spa-Francorchamps. But considering that nobody else, realistically, nobody from that top bunch has that fresh engine, I think McGorgy has a big advantage today, and he's got to make hay while the sun shines, because you never quite know how long it's going to shine for. Sergio Fletcher now up into 5th position with a launch up the inside of Xavi Ross there, and I love the fact that these cars aren't quite slipstreaming their way quite past each other on the straight. They're having to make it stick in the corners, so the drivers are having to get creative with it. But Fletcher there managed to make it stick, goes up into 5th place, and now sets off after his teammate Maggio, who we can see just up the road.
Nice stuff there from Sergio Fletcher. There are a couple of runners that I noticed on the soft tyres early doors. Carlos Martin seems to be one of them, and he's dropped back very, very much. McGorgy's actually on the soft as well, as is Thomas Bach, Tom Stevens, Oscar Soltero. Just wait for the timing tower to tick over down the bottom to see if anyone from 21st to 25th is also on the soft. Yes, Erasmus Skewley joining them, but again, seems to be the hard tyre is the consensus tyre of choice for most of the grid. That's what we were expecting, given the track temps, but McGorgy seems to be making it work. Everyone else struggling just a little bit. Martin definitely the big loser early doors on that soft rubber, dropping a couple of places, even though his qualifying wasn't as good as potentially we know what he can do behind the wheel of that HRT car. So McGorgy, that might explain his early pace, not just the fresh motor in the back of the thing, but also the fact he's got a soft set of tyres on that he is able to make work. He's not chewing through them. He's not running out of grip. They're not sliding over a very, very hot track surface. He's able just to put time down into the road. The question is, though, is given the temps, and yes, even if he's not sliding over the hot track surface, it's still going to be doing a number on the tyres. How long can he make him last? He might have to commit to a different strategy to everyone else, potentially a 3-stopper, when a 2-stopper seems to be the route for most of the teams. We'll wait to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, it's way too early to say, but I would lean towards a 3-stopper there for McGorgy. That's an interesting one. We saw in the Formula 1 Grand Prix that the Ferrari drivers started on the soft tyres and then didn't really come through the pack because obviously it was a little bit melty for them. The only reason that Ferrari tried that in the first place is because their 2026 car is terrible on the hard tyres and they wanted to try something a little bit different. And it didn't really end up working for them, I'm afraid. McGorgy has a slight advantage over them in that he already had the lead of the race, so he didn't have to worry too much about actually getting through the traffic or anything like that. He would have had a bit more of a job on his hands if Munier had managed to pull that move into the first corner. But yeah, he does have a bit of clean air in front of him. That's not really going to help him out with the tyres that much. Yes, okay, it means he's not going to be dealing with the turbulent air of the car in front of him. He's not going to be sliding around in the corners so much. But it also means that he sets the pace. And whatever he does, I'm sure the drivers behind him can do as well. At least they can stick with him relatively so. And McGorgy is going to have to pit before them. So I'm sure that Munier is going to end up leading this race, unless, of course, Mathieu Winnick can do something about him. And now it's all about how those strategies work themselves out over the rest of the race. And I think this is going to be one of those Grand Prix where the net order is not quite as clear-cut as it might seem.
But we'll wait and see, because there have been a couple of races this season where the softs has actually been a better race tyre than the mediums and the hards, and we've seen people extend soft stints out on a 1-stopper to be on half distance just because it's the better tyre to be on, even if you're managing the tyre and not using all of the pace that's there. So maybe McGorgy is on a 2-stopper and committing to that. Just wanted to break away early doors, get himself a nice gap back, just in case there's a mistake or traffic towards the end of the stint, anything like that. And now he's in a management phase where he's happy on the tyres. He can just take it nice and easy. But we'll wait to see. We are only on lap 6 of 70. Still a long way left to go in this Grand Prix. Currently following the battle for second place, Loic Munier, the world champion and the championship leader, ahead of his nearest title rival in Mathieu Winnick. 25 points is the gap. A race win separating them, which again, seems like a decent gap, but all it takes is one little mistake, one problem, and no score, a DNF and all that. And as for Munier, and a solid result for Winnick, and suddenly the picture changes. So, crucial fights here early doors. Alessandro Maggio also just behind them as well. We know he's not particularly good on the tyres. That's been a theme with Maggio for much of his career in GPVWC, so you'll expect him to be one of the earlier stoppers, even if he is running on the harder compound of tyres. Behind him is teammate Sergio Fletcher, a little bit further back, well outside of DRS range at the moment, which again is 0.7 of a second. Then Xavi Rose, Jan Grankvist, Jarl Yannick Bock, Jose Soriano, rounding out your top 10 as it stands. Soon to go on to lap number 7. It is McGorgy now with a 2-second lead at the front of the pack. But again, on that soft compound of rubber, how far do they go? What the TOP thinking in terms of strategy?
There have been a lot of people who have been vigorously defending Alessandro Maggio's tyre usage problem because it has admittedly got better. I think when he started out in Super League, I'm thinking back to when he was on pole in Australia and then faded quicker than you can blink. That was pretty bad. But I think he knew that it was bad and he's worked on it over time. The problem is that he's already up against people who have got that down. So when you get a Grand Prix like this, that's extremely blisteringly hot, I mean literally blisteringly, because the tyres do tend to blister and drop off the pace pretty quickly, this is going to be his toughest test yet. That's for absolutely sure. He's got his teammate behind him, so he doesn't necessarily have to focus too much on defending in these early stages. Xavi Ross is dropping back just a little bit anyway. They both managed to clear him at the start. But of course, Maggio still has, 9/10 of the race to go. Pit stop's still coming up, of course, but he's got to make the tyres actually get there, and we'll see if that ends up coming into play later on, and whether he's able to stand up to that test. Here's Yannick Bock running just ahead of Jose Soriano, and just behind Jarl Tyen and Bock, two of the more experienced drivers in GPWC Super League. Soriano not necessarily, but he's come in with a lot of vigour. And Yannick, you see, slipstreaming along with Jarl Tyen, has the rear wing open. Tyen at the last Grand Prix had a setup that was much better suited to wet weather than it was to dry weather, and so as soon as the track started to dry out, he was dropping like a stone. And we were very used to seeing that every time he got to a straight, he just got gobbled up by everyone else. Here at the Hungaroring, you can't afford to do that because the rest of the track, other than that straight, is all twisty bits. You get fast corners, you get medium corners, but it's all corners, and so you have to have the downforce to stand up to that. So, Tyen, I'm sure, will be very glad to be back at a track where other drivers aren't just flying past him like they were at Spa.
We'll have to wait and see what is in the locker for the time being. But again, long way to go here, Caitlin. Things can change, things can move about. We've not yet had a DNF as well, which is quite surprising given the temperature and the nature of the Hungaroring, of course based in Magyarország, about an hour's drive from central Budapest. Which is why you normally do just say it is in Budapest, which is a lovely, lovely city, if I do say so myself. Would highly recommend, if anyone gets the chance to visit, go and visit. Unless your name is Norbert Jakob, who is the least Hungarian man on the planet, it would seem. Alessandro Maggio has caught, or has actually dropped behind Sergio Fletcher,
yeah.
So swap for places there for the Valle Esports guys. Clearly decided from the team side of things, let's let the Spaniard have a go. Maggio seemingly can't break through what we've got going in front, or potentially a mistake from Maggio as well, but I'm going to teeter on the team side of things. So now Fletcher can push forward for the Italian squad. Let's see what he can do. Up into P4 goes the Spaniard.
Yeah, at the last race we saw the HRT drivers running together, and rather than holding position like you might expect a team to do, they were swapping back and forth very deliberately. Ross, I know you've commentated kart racing and bike racing in the past where they do that kind of thing a lot more, because if you can slipstream someone and not lose time from it, you end up getting that slingshot effect going through and actually gaining time as a result. The two HRTs used that very much to their advantage in the last race. They were able to pull away from Loic Mounier and ended up claiming that second and third position. But it did mean that Carlos Martin ended up giving way to his teammate Winnick at the end. Carlos absolutely had the pace to hold off Maciej Winnick, but for the team's point of view, it made more sense that Winnick was going to go through and take that position. So It won't be a happy thing for Alessandro Maggio seeing his teammate going through, but so long as neither of them were held up by it, so long as neither of them really lost any time, it's not the worst thing that could have happened for those guys, and I'm sure that whatever happened, it was a team decision. Norbert Jakob now does get up into the top 10, makes his first major move on Jose Soriano and gets through into that top 10. And Mark Schluter here is trying to follow him through, picking up from the disappointment of running out of fuel at Spa.
Nice stuff there from Jakob. He's Hungaroring it's a bit of a weird track for Jakob across his career. The one GPVWC event that he's contested here, Superlights last year, ended up DNFing despite having good pace. Crash out of the turn 6, turn 7 chicane, which of all the years to change the name of a chicane at turn 6, 7, you picked 2026. Nice one, guys. But now officially called Driving Centre, which is somehow even worse, quite frankly. Yeah, they've named all the corners at the Hungaroring, if you've been a little bit out of the loop over the last couple of weeks. But it is a track that he does generally have some degree of pace at, of course, being his home circuit. Even though I do like to take the mick and say he's the least Hungarian on the planet, simply because he doesn't like Langosh, which in my opinion is the greatest dish that God ever put on the earth. Anyway, enough about my qualms with that beautiful bald man. But yeah, nice stuff from Norbert. Again, True North, they're looking okay at the moment. Again, they've had a very good season so far, and two very strong drivers in the car. Of course, Jakob, a race winner in Superlights last year, and someone who's really burst onto the scene in GPVWC across last season and this season. And Mark Schluter, of course, a proven race winner at this level in Super League. 10th and 12th for the moment for those guys. Again, as I've been saying, long race to go for them, but it's a team that they always work very, very well together, the True North cars, no matter who's in them. They're always a team that has a lot of team spirit. It's always about putting the team first, and the drivers really embody that for Carter McColeman's squad. So they will work together to move their way up the pack as the laps tick away.
I've always said that about Carter McColeman's team. It is a proper team. It has that team energy to it, that team spirit. And I think that's shown by the drivers on track. Meanwhile, talking of drivers on track, Owen McGorgy has dropped back into the clutches of Loic Mounier. At the start of the race, the gap extended out to about 2 seconds. It's now down to just 0.3 of a second. And look at this, because Loic has the run down the straight. And there is the change. Loic Mounier takes the lead of the race. And Winnick nearly got close enough for a move as well. Winnick, one of the few drivers who started the race on medium tyres. And what's going on there? That was very clearly McGorgy letting him through. And there's no reason why that should happen, but McGorgy clearly pulled over well off the racing line and then slowed dramatically. So for some reason that I don't fully understand, Owen McGorgy has just given that place to Maciej Winnick. So that's another change of position. Mounier leads, Winnick second, McGorgy down to third, and now Fletcher's on his tail. So what's going on here, Ross?
Well, you've got to remember HRT is part of the TOP ecosphere. They use the same engines, all part of the same collective group. And I'm wondering if McGorgy suddenly just hit the cliff in terms of those soft tyres and has decided, look, Maciej's coming through. I know his title rival's in front of him. I'm going to make this as easy as possible, because look at that, there is no pace for that TOP car. So he's got to be coming into the pits soon, surely. Either there's a problem or the tyres are just completely done here on lap 12 of 70. And I'd be very, very surprised if Owen McGorgy does not pull into the pits, and he doesn't. So what is going on? So either there's a strategy game plan that McGorgy is sticking to the T, despite the fact his tyres have fallen off, or there is a massive, massive problem for the Englishman, because he's going to get done here and shoved off the podium as up the inside goes Sergio Fletcher. Gets it done on the brakes. Nice move down into PK corner. So we suddenly have a change at the front, and in the space of around about a lap, Owen McGorgy has gone from a very, very solid lead to fourth place, and he's dropped the rear. Those tyres have got to come off. They are absolutely done. Look at the car, it's all over the road.
So Maggio goes through into fourth position. My goodness, McGorgy dropping. Owen, I mean, he's the kind of driver who would drop to the back just for the fun of it, to be honest. He does enjoy battling for those positions, and he's, yes, the results matter to him, but maybe in a different way that they would matter to other people. But no, oh my goodness, he's all over the place. Yeah, you can tell that his car is not happy right now, and I think that is entirely because of the tyres. I think starting on the softs was a big mistake in these conditions. happens, and I think that he is bearing the brunt of it. You can see the blistering on the rear tyres, actually. That is what we refer to as graining, where you see that line on the tyre, and you see the difference in smoothness compared to a fresh tyre that you might get out of the pits.
Wow.
Those tyres, oh, he's going to lose it if he's not careful. Come on. Into the pits he comes. He's struggling even to get into the pit lane there. You can see the understeer on his car, and that pit stop could not come soon enough there, and that's probably the last that we're going to see of the soft tyres today, I say tentatively.
Yeah, there's still a few others that are out there on them. Carlos Martin as one of them. I think he's the next tyre soft runner. Oh, Jakob up to 9th with a dicey move, it would seem, on the brakes. Have to go defensive into turn 2, now called Hamilton after the 7-time Formula 1 world champion, but does look like he's confirmed it. And as we've been mentioning, Katening, the True Norths working together. Mark Schluter looking to try and make his way through on Jose Soriano, the reigning Superlights champion. So Jakob, of course, a rival of Soriano's last year, works his way through, and Schluter will now try to follow suit. Let's see what they could do as they go through driving centre and then into the left-hander of Buda and the right-hander of Pest. If you're a bit confused, that's because Budapest, the capital of Hungary, used to be 2 cities across the river from each other, called Buda and Pest. Then they became one, hence the name. All pretty simple, isn't it? Do some geography, some history lessons, you boring TikTok brain, whatever. Anyway, enough about me on a rant. Yeah, those soft tyres for Gorgie completely shot, weren't they? I'm surprised he stayed out for that extra lap as well. You mentioned the graining, you could see, especially on that front left, that's when the rubber actually physically starts to pull itself away from the surface of the tyre into the pits as well on the soft tyres for Carlos Martin. We've got blistering on the rear. That's where the tyre literally blisters, like human skin when it gets burnt, although it's not burnt, it's just too hot. And then graining is when the rubber just physically starts to pull itself away from the inside of the tyre. They're not simulated perfectly to real life in R-Factor 2, but it is the best tyre simulation you can get in correlation to how the tyres behave under those conditions in real life. And trust me when I say it's not fun. Graining isn't great, you can get away with it. Blistering is a massive, massive problem. The second you get blisters on the tyres, you need to be thinking about coming into the pit lane. That's why Carlos Martin has just done that. Owen Gorgie probably stayed out a lot longer than he should have done, and is now well down the order as well. So Martin emerges in P22 in front of Oscar Soltero as Ramirez has met the barrier and will try to rejoin. Yes, he will. It was only a glancing blow, so may have got away with it, but just dropped the car on the run out of turn 3. I'm going to assume he probably caught the curb on the exit.
Yeah, my bad for calling that as Murno. That is Davi Amiritz in his 3rd Super League start. And we're going to see a replay of what happened there. It did seem that he just suddenly dropped the car. You can see a little bit of graining on his tyres as well. He misses the apex slightly through turn 3. There's a big snap. He catches the first one, but then the car comes around again because that's how physics work. And you can see the result as he just dinks it off the barrier. Nice and gentle tap. And now Murno, oh no, he stays out, and it's Tomasz Vok who comes into the pits on this lap. I was going to bring up the Buda and Pest thing, so I'm glad that you did earlier, Ross. I think it's quite funny that people are losing their minds over a corner being called Pest, but actually it makes perfect sense if you look at the geographical reason for Budapest existing. Much Schluter now, taking a look at Soriano. The reason that this battle exists is because for a little while, Xavi Ross was really holding up, and he still is actually holding up a bit of a train of cars. Yes, it's a bit less of a train now that Carlos Martin has pitted. But yeah, Ross does not necessarily have the pace of the cars in front of him. And the likes of Grankvist, Tyen, Bock, Jakob, Soriano, Schluter are all being boxed up behind him. And we ended up with the situation a couple of laps ago where Soriano, who had been passed by Jakob, was able to come back at him down into turn 1. That's where we cut to this battle. But then by going back at Jakob, he left himself vulnerable to Schluter, and Mark nearly swept through at the next corner. So that's what we're seeing on screen now, and realistically this isn't going to be broken up until even more people pit.
Yeah, it's very much a case of when do you take your first stop now? Who pulls the pin? You'd expect those on the medium tyres to come in a bit sooner than those on the hards, but again, if the medium is a better race tyre than the hard compound, the C3 compound, then you might be willing to try and manage them, stretch them a couple of extra laps before they make their way into pit lane. So it's all to play for here. And again, these first pit stops are going to give us the real picture of the race. Who's on what strategy? Who's got what pace on what rubber? And then how do we go from there? Because it is still early doors. Only lap 17 of 70 here, despite the fact we've already had a couple of pit stops. We've already had some big moves, some big moments as well. It's quite a short circuit here at the Hungaroring. And again, that's why we've got 70 laps. It's only about a 1 minute 15 lap time or so around here. The circuit itself, 120 I've been told, or maybe I'm thinking a bit too quickly, but still 120, not too bad. Again, the circuit itself, 4.3 kilometers, 2.7 miles in old money. It's not the shortest in the world, but it is quite quick because there's lots of medium speed corners again, which is what causes the havoc on those tyres. On to lap 18 we go, and Maciej Młynek is still within the tracks of Loic Meunier in front. Does have the DRS, but is quite happy, I think, just following his title rival, following that Sparks Nix car, sitting in the wheel track, sitting not quite on the gearbox, but not too far away from it. Again, it's early doors. There's no point risking something at this stage, especially if you do have the pace to stick with your rival, because you can't win a race on, what is it, lap 18 now, but you can certainly lose it with a rash move that fires you both off the racetrack into the wall and back to the pits and out of the race.
Jakab, Soriano and Machete all pitted on that lap. They were all being held up. I think this is probably about the right time to do it. Szymon Frelick, I'm afraid, is out of the race. We saw that he didn't set a lap. And this is Jakab now side by side with Soriano on the pit exit. It's Tomasz Wok, my bad. Soriano's actually come out a little bit behind these guys. That's interesting because he was right with them before the pit stop, and now they've got Jeffrey Fournier between them. But yes, indeed. Norbert Jakab fighting with Tomasz Wok, and in the net order, this is probably for around 9th and 10th position as it stands. But as I was saying about Szymon Frelick, he failed to set a lap in qualifying. He said it was due to some kind of hardware issue, and unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if that hardware issue has reared its ugly head again, and that's why he is out of the race. It's been a tough year for TOP esports in general. It doesn't help that sometimes they change their drivers last minute due to commitments or whatever's going on, and in the last race, only one driver turned up, full stop. McGorky's car was entirely missing, and Frelick's car was taken over by Lewis Mesa, who ended up scoring a top 10 on his debut. Maciej Młynek, meanwhile, has been into the pits. He was right on the tail of Loic Meunier for the lead of the race, but has decided to box, and he's got a lovely bit of clean air, actually. He's come out just in, and he's jumped McGorky. Look at that. So that's McGorky that he's... No, because McGorky dropped behind him before. That's my bad. McGorky dropped behind him before the pit stop. And Młynek there pitted to cover him off and has done exactly that. Now, am I seeing things, or is McGorky on the soft tyres again? Because I would be...
Yeah, it looks...
There's a chance it just hasn't updated itself, because that does happen. But if he's gone for soft tyres again...
Yeah, it says he's on them again, and again, says it on the timing tower as well. Again, unfortunately, we don't have our live timing with you this evening, unfortunately, so we can't bring you as much information as we would like, but again, that looks pretty convincingly like the Englishman is on the soft Compana rubber again. So definitely committing to the three-stopper there. Into the pits comes Alessandro Maggio, who's managed to take those hards to lap 20 or so, which is not that far in the grand scheme of things. So he, again, we know that even if it's not as bad as it once was, he does struggle with tyre management. He's probably looking at a three-stopper as well. Probably hard, medium, or hard, soft, something along those lines. Depends what he was able to extract out of the soft tyres. Fletcher comes out, so it's a double stop, a double stack even for Valet Esports, or as close as you can get to it in R-Factor 2 anyway. Fletcher emerges in P10 behind McGorgy. That's interesting. Yes, McGorgy is on the soft Compana rubber as we have a yellow flag out in Sector 2. Hopefully everything's okay. We have lost Amares as well as Szymon Frelick in the last couple of laps, it would seem. And now there's more yellow flags out in Sector 1 as well. Everyone calm down, make your minds up. If you're going to have a crash, do it properly and stick it into the wall, not just slightly going off of the road. So Maggio out into 17th place. He's lost a lot of time in the pit lane as a result of that, and is now stuck behind that big old train, which is from Tom Stevens back, it would seem. So Tom Stevens, Vac, Norbert Jakab in front of him. They're all on worn tyres. Stevens especially will probably be looking to go as far as he possibly can in this stint. given his poor qualifying position of 24th place and the lack of engine power that he has this evening. So Maggio, that's really not worked all that well for him, to be honest. His tyres were dropping off. Yes, he was probably dropping back a bit, but it would have been ideal for him to be in front of these guys, so he had the clear air and could have just pushed on to whoever's in front of him.
Yeah, I'm very confused to see drivers still on soft tyres, to be honest, especially those who started on softs. In conditions like these, you want to spend as much time on the hard tyres as you possibly can, because your car will thank you for it. Carlos Martin has just passed Mateusz Majka, who is one of the drivers yet to make a pit stop. So Martin goes through. Martin, I think, has actually gained a bit in that stint, because he's closer to the likes of Fletcher and McGorgy than he was before. Maybe not in terms of actual positions in the order. I mean, they are right together, but they're a little way down the order from where they were before. But when that all cycles itself up, I'm sure you'll see that he's right below them in terms of the net order. It's actually Xavi Ross leading the race as we speak. Not by much, though. Granqvist, Tyen, Bock, Schluter are all coming with him at the minute. But Xavi Ross, having his time in the sun there, did very, very well at the British Grand Prix, and of course picked up a surprise win there. Up until that point, hadn't even scored a top 10, and then came out of nowhere and scored that victory, which, to be honest, had been a long time coming. He had a top 10, but that was his first win. Oh, and Maggio's out. Maggio's had another... It must be a disconnection. Maggio out of the race yet again, which is a sight that we are all too used to seeing, Ross. Oh, my bad. So Ross is doing something at the minute. We will carry on as we are. But yes, unfortunately, Alessandro Maggio has retired from the race due to what we suspect is another disconnection. Famously, last year he was racing on mobile data, and that's not even a joke. He was literally racing on mobile data. And whenever that ran out, he would DNF from the race. He does have internet this year, but you'd be forgiven for thinking otherwise, because this does still keep happening. He retired from the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on the very first lap. He's retired a couple more times this year as well, and unfortunately Alessandro Maggio will go no further today. It's such a shame, honestly. Like, Maggio is a driver who, if he had the same situation, if he had the same chances that the other drivers have, he would be winning races. He would be at least scoring podiums. He would be well within the top 10 of the championship. But the truth is, he doesn't have the software or the hardware to do it. And so he ends up dropping out the races. He's 12th in the championship as it stands, and we're still yet to see his first victory. The best he's had is a second place finish at the Japanese Grand Prix earlier this year, which he did lead for part of. But yeah, that's an all too familiar sight for Alessandro Maggio, seeing him dropping out the race this early. Tom Stevens now making a move on fellow Tomasz Vok, and you can see Mark Schluter there. Norbert Jakob now trying to go around the outside. Schluter's a couple of cars back, and Schluter does... Oh, and he bashes wheels nearly with Wok, and Wok ends up running over the escape road, recovers, and nearly repays the favour there going into turn 4, and that's a late move from Norbert Jakob up the inside. That's frustration at that point. He feels that he has earned a right to the corner, and to be honest, there's an argument to be made to say that he has. And welcome back, Ross. Sorry, I didn't see your message in time just then, but I'm afraid to report we've lost Alessandro Maggio yet again. Also, while we've been talking, Ruben Machedi has disappeared from the order, so that's one of the 2 FTR cars out. But another retirement from Alessandro Maggio, and absolutely nobody is surprised.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Alex, as up the inside, there goes match game winner come Philip Pushko, and I tell you what, Mounier could try to follow. Looked like there was almost contact between the world champion and the German former world champion.
And McGorgy's
go the Frenchman. Oh, McGorgy's gone. Oh, no. And he was... Well, it was a long old strategy. Has he met the wall, or has there been a problem there for McGorgy? We'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look here. So coming into the pit lane again, and has he just pulled it in and called it a day?
Yeah.
Looks... let's have a... Oh, first spins it. And aside
No,
that,
he's
now,
given up.
yeah, I
He's
was
given
actually given a bit of information a few moments ago. I was told to keep quiet, but given he's out of the race, I think it's fair to call it now that McGorgy actually had an in-game glitch where he couldn't change the compound of tyres. So he was stuck on the soft tyres from qualifying, which is why he started on softs, which is why he jumped to the softs for the second stint. So he was fighting an uphill battle. The game would have disqualified him at the end of the day anyway, because he'd only been on one compound of tyres when you need to be on two. So McGorgy's clearly decided that on lap 25 of 70, that's a bit too much for him to deal with, and it's enough. And that's a real shame, because Owen, you were saying it earlier on, Caitlin, was looking like he was going to be one of the favourites for this race, and, well, still winless now in 2026 as a result, and it's through no fault of his own.
And this is Grankvist fighting with Tyen down into turn 1. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that, to be honest, I'm not surprised at all that it was an in-game glitch. It's a rare one. I haven't really heard... Oh, a little bit of contact there, little touch, and off goes Tomasz Vok. And that was Norbert Jakob that he ran into the back of. You saw it all bunch up in the mid part of the corner. It does that sometimes when drivers are piling in before the drivers in front of them have had a chance to get on the accelerator. Yeah, little touch, and Vok ends up losing places and dropping down into, where is he now? He's 18th position, so well behind his teammate, and now behind the likes of Schluter and Fischer as well. But no, what I was going to say about Owen McGorgy is that yes, that's a surprising glitch. I haven't really heard of that one before, but I'm not surprised it's a glitch, because it would have been a boneheaded move if he decided to go for 2 stints on the softs by his own decision. And yeah, it makes perfect sense to me that wasn't his decision, because I don't understand why anyone would do that. Into the pits now comes Jan Grankvist to put on a new set of tyres. Xavi Ross is also into the pits, so Jarl Tyen will actually get his time in the sun. Quite literally, it's a very, very hot day. Jarl Tyen leads the race, followed by Munich and Munier and Fletcher. And Grankvist now pits, goes on to another set of hard tyres, I expect. Hasn't quite updated yet, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. And they're 3 wide. Wow, look at that. Stevens going through, and you can see Jakob on the outside as well. Jakob getting forced out wide and somehow staying within the white lines of the track. He's now going to get the inside of the corner, and I hope he knows there's 2 people to his right, because it would be so easy to run them out of road. Now he's in the middle somehow. Tomasz Vok, Tom Stevens gets to the inside and also goes through. And now you can see on the back of him, that's Geoffrey Fournier, up from 24th, up from 18th on the grid, and he's being attacked by Lucas Murno. Oh, it goes over the gravel. Good thing there's not that springboard curb on the outside that Yuki Tsunoda found a couple of years ago, but Lucas Murno still losing out as a result of that, and it's Yannick Bock who gains as a result of it. You see this sometimes where it really is like an accordion. It's more like a caterpillar, to be honest, where you see a bit of a ripple form where drivers start to lose time and positions, and then they drop back, and other people behind them get the run, and other people behind them get caught up in it as a result of all that.
It's all a bit chaotic here, but into the pits comes Jarl Tyen from the hard compounds. Let's see what is going on to. Looks to be a set of the mediums for the Norwegian to my eyes. We'll wait to see if that confirms and updates in a few short moments, as he's going to come out right in the middle of the chaos. Jakob was wheel to wheel. They're 3 abreast with Tyen as well on the way out of the pit lane. This is the Hungarian Grand Prix. You all tune in for side by side into the left-hander at Hamilton's. Bock goes wide, the 2-time champion, but will slot in front of last year's vice champion, the Norwegian, on that fresh rubber. He'll be hungry to work his way through, but may just have to settle for 10th place at the moment. Looks like Jakob did get through Tom Stevens up in front, so the Hungarian up to 7th place at the moment. That is pure Magyar power there. Here goes Lucas Murno, the Brazilian. That is brave on Geoffrey Fournier, but it doesn't quite come into fruition. And with the best seat in the house is Mark Schluter as they go through Buda and Pest. And Schluter is now going to get through Fournier, who's going to drop 2 positions in a handful of seconds.
Fournier cut across the chicane. I was wondering if he was going to give the place back to Murno, but he didn't need to because he was understeering so badly that Murno and Schluter were both able to go through perfectly naturally in Buda and Pest anyway, simply because of how much Fournier was struggling. Into the pits he comes now, and this must be his second stop already, because I refuse to believe he's gone this far on the soft set of tyres. Whoa! And that was Schluter smoking out there on track, probably from running behind people so much. But yeah, Schluter had a trail of smoke out from the back of his car, and he's got a long way still to go in this race. I swear that happened before in the season as well. Did that happen at Sepang, I'd like to say? Maybe even Saudi Arabia as well. But no, I swear I remember that happening early this year to one of the True North Motorsport cars.
It was quite a common thing to see early in the year in general. I think it was with the new cars coming in, a lot of drivers, a lot of teams were running really narrow rads, narrow radiators to see what they could get away with in terms of cooling. So you did have early in the year a lot of smoke coming out of the back of cars, or steam more realistically, from where engines were beginning to overheat, just from where teams were pushing the boundaries in terms of how tight they could have the radiators, how little coolant they could run. Matthews Micah has run deep, and through goes 1, 2 cars there. He's lost out to Tom Stevens and Lucas Murno. That's all it takes, a little bit wide. Schluter still smoking a lot. He needs to get some clear air. He's at risk of blowing his motor.
And he takes a look to the inside, and he gets that clean air going through on Mateusz Micah, and Soriano's going to follow him through as well, because Micah makes his way into the pit lane. And this is why we genuinely love the Hungarian Grand Prix. Yes, it would be so easy to just wait for the straight and then blitz past your opponents in a straight line. That's exactly what's going to happen here between Soriano and Fischer as they go defensive on the inside. You can see Stevens and Murno side by side as well. And and contact! Oh! It goes around. Murno into the wall in the inside. Just a slight tag as he rejoins the road, so no serious damage, but I think there was contact there between himself and Tom Stevens, similar to what we saw with Thomas Fock and Norbert Jakob, and Mark Schluter's banging wheels with Soriano as well. Here's a replay now. You can see Murno was on the offensive, goes to the outside, and does he go for a switchback and just get it? Oh my goodness. Oh, he gets hit from behind. Was that Jakob going into him? So I was expecting the contact. It was Schluter, was it? So I was expecting the contact to be with Tom Stevens, and then he just gets absolutely run into from behind with Mark Schluter. Yeah, it must have been Schluter, because he's the car behind so Jakob's a few cars ahead in that train. And Schluter absolutely dumps Lucas Murno out of that battle, I'm afraid to say, and Lucas drops back. But yeah, what I was going to say before and all of that is that you can absolutely wait for the straight and then go past your opponent, but you lose so much time in doing that if someone is struggling, if someone's out of position, if you're getting through them because they're yet to stop, you have to try it earlier in the lap just to see if you can, and that's why we get overtaking maneuvers like this. Oh, and that's a lag spike, and Dylan Fischer is still in the race. Okay, well, he's he's
not in the race anymore, or maybe he will continue.
He had a lag spike, he disappeared, he reappeared, but straight into the side of another car, and I think that's probably a case of they didn't exactly know where he was on the track and couldn't avoid him. So another unfortunate incident as a result of connection issues, just as Maggio had. Fischer is still in the race. It looks... Oh, that's interesting. No, I've just watched it back on the live stream. He didn't actually make contact with anyone as he rejoined the track. He rejoined the track and then lost it over the curb. So I do think it was probably, I mean, it's got to be connected to the connection issue that we saw, but I don't think anyone else was involved, so at least that means probably no damage for any other cars.
I mean, trust Hungary to give you a race like this on lap 31. It was tense in the first stint, now it's just chaos, pure Maggia power here in GPVWC Super League, and it's anybody's guess what we're going to be seeing next. One thing we're definitely going to be seeing is Tom Stevens into the pits. He's gone 31 laps on that set of Haas from 24th on the grid. A mighty long stint, if I do say so myself. It could probably go hard medium, but push them a bit further. Schluter still struggling with engine temps at the moment, needs to get a bit of cool air but is not willing to duck out of the slipstream just in case he loses a place or two, especially when he can see that his teammate is up into P6. He knows that the True North car has pace. He's got to try and go the long way around at turn 4. Okay, he's got to jump before the corner. Let's all take a breath there. That would have been sensational, but it is a nice move using the drive out of turn 3 instead. You can go wheel to wheel into turn 4. We've seen it before, but it's one of those corners you've got to have the cojones to get it done through that part of the race course. And yeah, Schluter deciding, no, let's get it done before. Don't need to put anything onto the highlight reel, onto the showcase just yet. So that is Schluter up into P10. Of course, a former race winner here in GPVWC Super League. Hasn't been for a little while, though. Back to the front of the pack. Maciej Młynek still in front of Loic Mounier. That is a reverse order of what we saw at the start of the race once they got through Magorgi on that dying set of soft tyres. Obviously, once he'd realised anyway, that there was an issue that meant he couldn't switch compounds. A real shame for him. Just behind them, Sergio Fletcher running in a very solid 3rd place. If they finish as they do right now, the championship gap goes from 25 points in Mounier's favour to 18. So it is a swing for the race leader in Maciej Młynek, but it would still be the championship lead for Loic Mounier, and one that, presuming they finish every race across the course of the season, is all right, but again, it's GPVWC. Who knows?
Now this battle that we're seeing on screen here, Młynek and Mounier, is one that started all the way back on lap 19 of the race. Młynek made his pit stop, but instead of going for the hard tyres like we expected most people to go for, he went for the medium tyres to try to undercut Loic Mounier. This absolutely worked. Mounier only pitted 2 laps later than Młynek did, but in that time Młynek was able to push and get that buffer so that he was able to come out in front. He did also find a very nice bit of clean air, did Maciej Młynek, showing you the importance of figuring out where you're going to come out after you make a pit stop. So that was very well timed for Maciej Młynek, and it's given him what we expect is the net lead of the race at this point in time. But it does also mean that Loic Mounier has slightly fresher tyres. Yes, it's only 2 laps, but that absolutely matters on a day like today, when tyre life is at a premium and the track is as hot as it is now. There's Philip Pushke fighting with Carlos Martin a little bit further back, 2 drivers who are expected to do very well today and who are doing a good job inside of the top 10, and Martin makes that move up into 8th position as it is now. I do apologise actually that we didn't pick up on Młynek jumping ahead of Loic Mounier in that first pit cycle. There was a heck of a lot going on, and that was around the time that we saw the DNF for Owen Magorki as well. So that's my commentator's excuse. But yes, Młynek did jump ahead of Loic Mounier as a result of going onto those mediums, pushing, and then getting ahead as Mounier came out of the pits.
I blame our camera operator for that one, quite frankly. What are you doing, Fabian? All joking aside, again, big thank you to Fabian Youngbluth for jumping in this evening a bit last minute to be on the cams once again with us here in GPVWC. He's been doing a lot for us at the moment. And of course, if camera operating is something you fancy doing, or not camera operating, broadcast directing, I think is the official sim racing terminology for it, do get in touch with our head of media of the GPV Media Group, Toby Davis, and see what you can offer. We're always looking for commentators, broadcast directors, people to do write-ups, social media, the whole shebang. So do please get in touch with Toby and see how you can get involved. Into the pits comes hometown hero Norbert Jakob, and he makes his way out on a set of a hard compound of tyres on lap number 34. Of course, if this is your first time watching GPVWC, hello and welcome. Hope you are enjoying all of the action so far. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all of the above, if you've not done so already, to help promote the best of the best in our Factor 2 sim racing, help show the world what we have on offer here. And of course, if you fancy getting involved, head down to the description, click on the Discord link, click on the website link, find out how you can pitch yourself against these guys. It will take a couple of years to get there, of course. You've got to work your way up the career ladder. But if you fancy yourself as a bit of a sim racing stalwart, then make sure you do get involved, get in touch, and find out how you can start turning laps in the best sim racing in our Factor 2. Lap 35 of 70. That is half distance, if my math serves me correctly, or just a touch under it technically. Lap 36 would be the realistic answer. And it is Młynek from Mounier from Fletcher, your top 3. Matthews Micah, who we're currently watching in P17 at the moment. Norbert Jakobs to come out just in front of him on that fresh tyres. Micah will be looking to pick up a toe and see if he can try to follow him for the next couple of laps, gain a bit of ground as a result as they make their way to the final corner, that big 180-degree sweeping right-hander that I'm surprised we've not seen that many issues for drivers there today. Again, given the track temperature, given the tyre struggles, given that it's going to be very, very slippy out on the racing circuit, a turn like that where you're putting so much weight onto the front left tyre, onto the left rear as well, as you're getting on the power through the corner. I'm surprised you're not seeing anybody dropping it or pushing it very, very deep as the tyres go away. So fair play to everyone. Good job, well done, keep at it. But again, we're only just at half distance. Things could still change. Not saying that I think anyone will crash, but you never know. Things could happen. It's the top level of esports competition on R-Factor 2. These guys are driving at the absolute limit. And there's always the chance for a mistake or a sudden moment to change the complexity of the race.
Well, I'm afraid that as we reach the halfway stage, I have to add 2 drivers to our list of DNFs. Tom van der Voort retired earlier on, and also Dylan Fisher, who we saw having that incident a few laps ago, has also called it quits now. Chris Williamson messaged to let us know that Ruben Machete's accident was an accident on the pit straight. So I know you were saying you were surprised that drivers haven't been spinning coming up the final corner or anything like that. I expect that is probably what happened to Ruben Machete. Right back, I mean, that was on about lap 10, I'm afraid, that Ruben Machete retired. We didn't see exactly what happened to him, but it was some kind of accident there. The YouTube chat is being delightful as always. Good to see you guys as always. Arda Erkan's here saying, Luca Moina, go win please. Not quite sure who that is, but whatever. No, I know exactly what you mean, Arda, don't worry about it. Alex Maggio asking, is Sergio on medium tyres? He is not, and that's actually quite interesting because, as you can see, he's keeping up with the 2 drivers that are in front of him. Sergio is on quite a... Oh, and into the pits now comes Mathieu Winnick. So once again, a lap, or at least a lap, earlier than Loic Mounier. And we'll see what he does with that. But yeah, Sergio keeping himself quite flexible at this point in the race. Final point on the YouTube chat, Juho Sopanen just says help! Exclamation mark. I wonder what's going on there. But anyway, here's the pit stop for Mathieu Winnick, and he goes onto a set of hard tyres. I'm wondering, if I'm Loic Mounier, I'm wondering if I now go for another set of mediums just to try to jump back through. Because, yes, it's track position, but the trouble is he'd have to... I mean, they're both going to have to make another pit stop, I'm sure of that. So, answers on a postcard, I guess. We'll find out in probably a lap or 2. And Sergio Fletcher, well, he was getting closer. He's lost about half a second in the first part of this lap. He was getting closer to the back of Mounier and Winnick, to the point where I was wondering if he was going to get DRS. But DRS goes back to 7/10, so he won't get that on this time around. But anyway, that's how we stand. Loic Mounier leads the race again. Sergio Fletcher second. Xavi Ross is in 3rd position. And we'll see now whether Loic reacts to what Mathieu just did and comes into the pits, or no, he stays out. And Sergio, of course, does the same thing, but I think that's to be expected considering he's on the harder compound of tyre. So now we got this interesting point of view where... Mathieu Winnick is racing stationary cars here. He's got about 3 seconds on track to gain before he gets up to the back of Xavi Ross ahead of him. So he's found some clean air again. And Loic Mounier is going to be very vulnerable to this. I think when he makes his stop, Winnick's going to be a little way up the road, and we've got to see what Mounier can do with the pace he's given.
We'll wait and see, but Loic Mounier, of course, reigning world championship leader, and the guy who is potentially going to break a very, very long curse of no one being able to go back-to-back in GPVWC Super League World Championships. If anybody knows what to do when he's got a big clear air at the front of the road, it is this guy, the Frenchman, of course, ludicrously quick, and with a very, very intelligent mind on him as well. That's one thing you don't often consider when it comes to sim racing, is the brain power that goes into this. You talk about it a lot when you talk about real-world racing drivers or riders as well on 2 wheels. The processing power, the supercomputer that these guys have in their heads, that the likes of not to be rude, Caitlin, but you or I completely lack. That's why we're in the commentary box instead of out there with these guys. It's not just the pace, it's the processing power, the ability to go through things so quickly and understand strategy, understand how the race is unfolding at the snap of their fingers. Loic is so smart behind the wheel. He's so smart on understanding how a race is unfolding. So he's going to do exactly what he needs to do, because not only does he have the brain, but he has the ability to match it. As I say that, he has come into the pits, emerges in P4, has dropped behind Maciej Munich, but of course does have fresher rubber by a couple of laps. So again, he's probably just running the numbers in his head and knows exactly how he wants this to go. As it currently stands, it's looking like it's going to be a win, if not a second place. There will be another pit stop period for these guys, given they're going on to the medium tyres. They'll probably be going medium, if not medium soft to the end. So we'll wait to see if Loic's plan comes into fruition. But right now, on paper, it's him or Maciej. It just depends who extracts the most out of this stint, who gets the pit stop timing right. As we go now following Carlos Martin, another driver with a huge brain on him, of course does basically all of the testing for the TOP group. Obviously moved away from TOP to HRT for this season. It's a team that he did run a couple of races at before, and of course a race winner at a Super League level as well. The most Spanish man on the planet, who is due to move to Poland at some point to just make things even more confusing for him. Doing a good job at the moment. He's had a couple of really good runs at things so far this season and looks set for another very solid block of points. He's chasing Jarl Tyne at the moment, who himself is chasing Yannick Bock. Now that, if that's a train of good drivers, this Carlos just reminds himself that he's awake. Probably struggling with the temps just a little bit, as there we do see Munier and Maciej Munich going wheel to wheel out of turn number 1, outside for the reigning world champion, and way too outside as he gets onto the actual turf. He'll have to reset and go again.
Yeah, there's no grip back there. Jose Soriano showed us that earlier on, and Munier drops back. I was going to say he's done a really good job on those in-laps, has Loic Munier. He only lost about 0.4 of a second to Maciej Munich in the 2 laps that he stayed out longer. The difference is he's gone for medium tyres, and Munich is still on those hards. I mean, again, I always try to put myself in the position of the drivers and try to work out who has gone for the better strategy. At this point in time, I would much rather be in Maciej Munich's position, because Munier is probably or possibly going to pass him, but the problem with that, as I'm struggling with the hiccups again. The problem with that is that Munier is not going to be able to run as fast as Munich is on those tyres, or run as long as Munich is on those tyres. And Munich is so much more flexible for the rest of the race now. Oh, what a big... Oh, and Munier's in the wall! Munier spins out of the final corner and hits the barrier, and he's got the entirety of the lap to do without a front wing in order to get it back to the pit lane. And that is entirely frustration there for Munier, as he's trying to look for a way to get past Maciej Munich. He doesn't manage it. He loses control and he slams the inside barrier. That is such a shame there, because it robs us of a battle that was likely to go right to the end of the race. And unfortunately for Munier, that is going to cost him quite a few points in the championship as well. We're going to see a replay of it now. He's running in the turbulent air of Munich. Munich runs wide, cuts back in. Munier is thinking about that, probably wondering, how can I... See, Munier there, he's thinking about how to get the best possible exit from that corner. He knows he's got to use the entire track to do it, and he runs it right out, but too wide. He runs it straight onto the curb and loses control of his car. I'm not even sure that he knew he'd lost his front wing by the time he got to turn 1 there, because he braked very, very late, possibly in denial about the whole thing. I guess it's the first stage of grief. And down into 9th position goes Loic Munier. He's going to drop well outside of the top 10. He's going to drop outside of the top 15 at this point. And he comes back onto the road right in front of Jan Granqvist, who probably gets Melbourne flashbacks there, with a driver rejoining the track straight into his path. And Munier will have to make that pit stop. What a shame there for the race and for the championship leader.
I mean, you've got to feel for Loic Munier. That is through no fault of his own whatsoever. Everybody gets caught out by the curbs in R Factor 2 and in GPVWC at some point, and it just so happens that that was the moment for Loic Munier this season. But that is a moment that could have huge huge implications on the championship story this season, because now it's a case of Loic Mounier is fighting for the tail end of points. Maciej Winnick is looking for the win. It was a 25-point gap, a race win gap coming in to this round. And suddenly Maciej Winnick has got a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to get that right back down and to put the pressure on to the reigning world champion, as Carlos Martin gets a bit squirrely in sympathy as well, heading out of the left-hander. So, drivers again, is fatigue setting in, tyre wear, the track being slippery due to the heat, all of those things we need to consider about. One thing Loic Mounier, well, definitely didn't need to consider was the R-Factor 2 curbs, and he's been caught out by that. As a result, we got a bit of front wash as Mounier cut back across the racetrack, and it just changes trajectory to go out a bit wider. The car bottoms out and you just spin. Again, your heart has to go out to him. It's no fault of his own, but it's one of those things. There is Maciej Winnick working his way through Xavi Ross to the outside. I mean, it's textbook manoeuvres here at Hungary as Ross tries to fight back into Hamilton. And has actually forced Winnick a bit wide with the pressure, but Winnick with the inside into turn 3. Ross still staying there onto the AstroTurf. This could get interesting into turn number 4. No, Ross decides against it and ducks back behind. The Polish driver has gone to the lead of the race.
Yeah, that's not your race, Xavi. Maciej Winnick goes through, and it was inevitable. Even if Ross had stayed ahead for now, Maciej would definitely have come back through again. Loic Mounier has dropped down into 20th position after his pit stop. The only driver still running in the race behind him is Jonas Karala in his very first Super League race, who's doing a very good job to still be in it, to be honest. It's not the easiest day for it. But that, of course, means that Mounier is very unlikely. I wouldn't say very unlikely, actually. He is going to struggle to score points in this one, and even if he does, it's just going to be a couple of points. And if Winnick wins and Mounier fails to score points, that means they will be equal in the championship. They will both be on exactly the same number of points. It will then, of course, to determine who's in the lead of the championship, it will then come down to countback, which means which driver has the most wins, and the answer to that is both of them. They will both have 3 race victories. So of course then it will come down to who has the most second places, and the answer is both of them. They both have 1 second place finish. That's Mounier in Saudi and Winnick last time out in Belgium. So then it will come down to who has the 4th place finish, and that would be Loic Mounier, who finished 4th at the San Marino Grand Prix earlier this championship. That's about as dramatic as a countback could possibly be. Now, am I absolutely imagining this, or has it suddenly started to rain out of absolutely nowhere? Look at it. So the tie-in with a slow exit to the corner, Fletcher right on his tail, but look at the drops. Where has that come from? I was asking earlier on, asking around if there's any chance of rain, and nobody seemed to suggest this. Like, this was not even a consideration. But suddenly, you can see the drops. It's got to be a bit of a tropical storm going on here, because the track temperature is still right the way up. But we had this in Superlights the other day as well, where the rain started to come down out of absolutely nowhere. And could this shake up the complexion of the race for us?
It certainly could. I mean, we weren't expecting rain this evening, so this could massively... I mean, it's blue skies overhead, so this is either a very brief, very short shower that the racing gods have just gone, you can have a bit of that to spice it up, or suddenly we're getting a big change for the picture of the race. Because it's so hot, early doors, it won't have that much of an effect. It will basically evaporate immediately off of the track surface. Fletcher, that's a lovely, lovely move on your time, by the way, for the Spaniard. Round the outside, then the inside at turns 1 and 2. PK, and then Hamilton is then now called, and through he goes. But again, keep your eye on that rain. Again, due to the heat, not going to have that much effect early doors. But, I mean, this could massively change things. We were not expecting this here at the Hungaroring, and the sim racing gods are potentially throwing us a bone. But it's blue skies overhead, so I've got no idea what's going on, quite frankly. And because race view's down, we can't tell what the weather officially is in session. According to my weather app, it's saying it's supposed to not be raining. It's no longer sunny. You can see it's just clicked into effect. We've got overcast conditions here at the Hungaroring. We could be seeing some wet weather run into the end of things, Caitlin Penny.
Oh, the weather's been bizarre recently. The same thing happened with Superlights the other day, where with literally 5 laps to go in the race, it started chucking it down. And there were some drivers caught out by it. Now watch Sergio Fletcher as he slipstreams Yannick Bock onto the straight. Fresher tyres, better car, through goes Sergio Fletcher on the outside and goes through into third position there. And of course the exact opposite thing happened at Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, THR in particular were really caught out by it because they were looking at their weather radar and they were expecting it to be rain for the entire race. They weren't expecting even the slightest hint of blue sky. And then within 5 laps, the rain was completely gone. Time was being struggled up and they ended up finishing 6th and 7th. So you never know what to expect with the rain here in GPVWC, and especially recently, it has not been able to make its mind up. I will say, if last week is anything to go by, look out for Lucas Murno. He was sensational in these conditions, and he's now fighting with Jose Soriano. Oh, look at this. There's a whole bunch of them. It's Soriano, it's Micah, and it's Stevens, all flying up into turn 4 together. You don't want to go 3 wide into turn 4. That is a surefire way to get your nose chopped off. But now Murno's trying to go 3 wide again on the exit of the corner. Soriano's the one being passed here by Micah, who's going through into 12th position. And now Murno's up the inside, and now he's going to get the move, is he? It's going to turn into the outside line as they go into the S's. Soriano runs wide. Murno may get another shot on the exit. He's on the soft tyres, which all of a sudden might start to be a bit of a help rather than a hindrance, because these tyres do tend to be better than the hards in the rain. Your Tyen's dropping again. Oh, has something happened to Tyen there? Oh, he's side by side with Yannick Bock. And has the inside line now. Bock squeezing him a little, but gives him just about enough room. A fair competitor as usual. And Yannick Bock through into 4th position ahead of Yartine.
Is it still raining? I think it might have stopped. We'll wait to get
you can still see the
dots on the cars. Yeah. But I'm not seeing much in the sky, so it may have just been a very, very brief shower, and we'll continue on our merry way. So I'm not sure. Well, you know, basically, I'm just going to go for if someone comes into the pits, for instance, it's raining. If they stay out, they keep going. Certainly slippy, though, for Matthews Micah, who's got it wrong coming out of turn 2 and has had a half spin, managed to get it all locked up stock car style, keep it going, or, well, keep it out of the wall and then get it going once again. But those will be some very square tyres for him as he gets going, so probably will be coming into the pit lane. Here comes Jeffrey Fournier on Micah now as a result of that one, and through goes the Red Archer VRT driver, not quite, still side by side into the left-hander of Buda. That is a flex in your muscle move. Fournier showing what he's worth and saying, come on then, if you want to take it, let's tango. Brilliant stuff from the Frenchman to muscle his way through around the outside.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Micah though. Remember, he had that spin on the very first lap of the race, dropped right to the back, so he was doing a good job to be back up into the points-paying positions, but then had that spin again. So that's rather put the bung in his test tube, and unfortunately, Micah is now back outside of the points. You could see, for a little while, you still had the dots on the side of the car as if it had been raining. The rain appears to now be, well, it did appear to be completely gone. Am I imagining drops again? I'll keep an eye on it. The thing, of course, with this is that the track dried out instantly. As soon as the weather stopped, it was so wet that all the water just evaporated straight away. So you will get that where we can... Oh, big twitch from Fletcher. Gathers it up. And this is genuinely the battle for the lead that you're watching, because Fletcher has been putting in some quick laps on those soft tyres, but he nearly threw it all away Loic Mounier style there by twitching his car about, gathered it up, and now he sets off after Winnick again. In fact, has a really good drive on him down the straight. He's going to be close to him by the time they get to the corner. He thinks better of it, and a good thing too. But yeah, this is hard tyres versus soft tyres. Fletcher putting in those hot laps, and he's got to make the most of it soon, because I can't imagine that soft tyres are going to be the best for very long at all. But anyway, that's the situation we've got in front of us.
Well, even if it has been raining for about maybe a lap and a half, it will have cooled the track slightly again. The water would have evaporated basically immediately, but it will have cooled the track slightly, so it will be slightly better for the soft tyre. Maybe makes the track a little bit less slippery out there as well, given that it's cooled off, so the rubber isn't just going all over the place, essentially. So You'd think initially an advantage slightly to Fletcher. Tom Stevens has gone for a ride at turn 2 at Hamilton's. And, well, that's not the line around there, I can tell you that much. And Stevens, again, who's been on a comeback drive since lap 1, qualified 24th race winner here in Super League last year, has done a really commendable job of things. That's the first real mistake we've seen, is he's still fighting for points. Fletcher now will be looking to try and do what he couldn't do on the previous tour. Already defensive goes the race leader. Maciej Młynek to the middle of the track. Fletcher to the outside. This can work. Maybe tries to get the switch back as Młynek covers him off. No, he's going to have to dive into turn 2 if he wants it, if he can find it. Thinks about going the long way round. It can work. We've seen it not work a few times this race, and Fletcher decides against it. So we do now have a proper scrap on our hands for the race lead. Another little look up into turn 4 and a little bit wide. Misses the apex. That's going to cost him a bit of time. Sergio Fletcher, though, in this fight for the lead, certainly has the pace. He's been the driver that for most of the day, when Loic Mounier was in this conversation, was very solidly in P3, was having a great run of things, but didn't quite have the pace to challenge the 2 leaders. Now he's on this soft compound rubber. He is absolutely flying in that Valet Esports car and will be hungry, Caitlin Penny, for his 2nd race victory of the season.
This is a purely combat move here from Sergio Fletcher to have gone onto those soft tyres. Both himself and Młynek are likely to make another pit stop before the end of it. And realistically, Fletcher just wants to get the track position before that ends up happening. Of course, if it does start chucking it down with rain again, then they're likely to pit on the same lap or around the same lap. But until then, we just have to assume that they're still going to stop one more time. Ooh, well, I knew that was too late. I thought he might have tried it anyway from Sergio Fletcher, because he was so close to the back of Młynek going into turn 1. But again, I think it's just a speculative move. Ross is in the pit. Martin is in the pit as well. So the drivers dropping down the top 10 as we speak, who will end up regaining their original positions, I expect. Xavi Ross on a set of hards, he'll go to the end from there. Carlos Martin on a set of mediums, he will also go to the end from there. The mediums may struggle a little in the last stages, but no, you can absolutely get to the end from there. So that, I'm sure, will be his plan. I wonder if Fletcher has maybe bitten too much out of his tyres already here, because he's had a couple of attempts at it, a couple of bites at the cherry, but if you take too many bites, you don't have a cherry anymore. So we'll see if Sergio Fletcher still has anything to play with the next time they go down into turn 1.
Well, he'll think about it, certainly, but you'd think at this point maybe a little bit too far back. He's got the pace to catch Maciej Młynek, but it's one thing to catch the driver in front. It is another thing entirely to try and overtake them, even when you're dumping that battery, even when you've got the DRS. Maciej, though, clearly worried as he pulls all the way to the inside. Sergio too far back, though, down into turn 1. Is he trying to set it up into turn 2? We do have a yellow flag out in sector 1. It's gone fairly swiftly, though, and Fletcher is still a little bit too far back. Are those soft tyres maybe starting to fall off a little bit already? We'll wait to see. Both of these drivers will need to box one more time before the end of this race, unless Młynek is able to work absolute miracles on that hard compound and make them go all the way. This is, of course, a huge opportunity for Maciej Młynek. If they finish as they do now, the championship gap goes from 25 points in the favour of Loic Mounier to 0. Mounier is ahead on countback down to 4th places. That's how tight things are in the GPVWC Super League World Championship picture. And in round 10 of 16, as we're quickly approaching the business end of the season, Loic Mounier, through no fault of his own, errors, moments, mistakes, and the wall and a lack of front wing, it has been a gift hand-given to Maciej Młynek, and the Polish driver probably knows how important this is. He will be desperate to keep Sergio Fletcher behind due to the championship picture, because the fact is, if he wins this race and Loic Mounier is out of the points, it is even Stevens. It
is. I do think Mounier is going to score a point. He's right on the back now of of Tomasz Wok. He's less than a second behind him. So Munier is likely to get back up into the points, and I don't expect him to make another pit stop. Winnick, on the other hand, pitted on lap 36, so that's the halfway stage in the race. So if you think about him making 2 pit stops up to the halfway stage, it stands to reason that he's going to have to make at least one more in the remainder of the race. Well, I say at least one more. It will be one more. Sergio Fletcher pitted on lap 40. 30 laps on a soft tyre is way too long to go, so he is definitely going to have to make another pit stop as well. But both of them have free compound choice because they both used more than one dry weather tyre compound. There is Loic Munier, and he has now got back up into the points. He's got past Tomasz Wok, and also Lucas Murno made a pit stop on the last lap. So Munier has gained 2 positions in the order. He's up into P14, and he will maintain his championship lead whatever happens here. Xavi Ross now up the inside of Jan Grankvist and goes for the move. That's the pairing who were fighting for the lead at Silverstone, and Xavi does go through just as he did at the British Grand Prix. And into the pits now comes Jan Grankvist. And Fletcher. Fletcher pits as well. So Fletcher's in, Tyron's in, Grankvist is in. And this is the time to do it. The time that your third pit window starts. And he rejoins. Well, Fletcher's got Norbert Jakob only a couple of seconds up the road. He's going to catch him pretty quickly, I expect. I'm trying to see where... So Tyron's also got Soriano just up the road. He hasn't given himself clean air. Jan Grankvist is going to come out with a little bit more, I think. But then again, yes, so Grankvist has got a bit more clean air because he's only just come out in front of Loic Munier. My goodness, that was a little bit close there, actually. But with softer tyres, I think Grankvist will be able to fend him off quite easily here. So Jan Grankvist comes up P12, Munier is up into P13 now, and these two have got to just work their way up the order for the rest of the day, which I'm sure they will set about doing as soon as they can.
Well, you'd expect so, wouldn't you? But though Munier again, Winnick knows what's at stake here. Munier knows what's at stake as well, so he'll be wanting to at least try to get a point on the board. He'll be wanting to try and get as many as possible. It's a long, long way to go for him, and it's a big ask. But if there's anyone that's going to be able to rescue a point or two from this, it will be Loic Munier. Into the pits come Winnick. Fletcher will surely be getting the lead from him as a result.
Nope.
Well, maybe not quite. Fletcher will emerge just behind Maciej Winnick on the hard compounded tyres, it would seem. And we remain as we were. Oh, contact!
There is contact! Oh, and into the wall goes Winnick. My goodness me. Maciej Winnick, in my opinion, was sure to win that race. It was going to get spicy. I was going to bring up the fact that Fletcher is on soft tyres, but he has completely misjudged it there and run into the back of Maciej Winnick, the long-time race leader, and that is gutting. Nothing that Maciej could have done here. I think this is just a case of cold tyres coming out of the pit. He's being a lot more cautious than Fletcher is. Fletcher sees his chance, but it's too little, too late, and he runs straight into the back of the Holland Racing Team car. In my opinion, that is entirely on Sergio Fletcher, and I expect he will probably end up with a penalty as a result of that. And who knows who's going to win the race now? Sergio Fletcher, well, he leads the race and he's on those soft tyres, so providing he doesn't have any damage and he doesn't waste those tyres towards the end, he may well finish the race on the road. But this may well end up with a bit of a damp squib at the end of this one, because I don't expect he will be allowed to keep that win, and it may well end up being that who we see cross the line first is not who we see go down in the record books. But Fletcher does lead the race for now. Norbert Jakob was second, but he's in the pits. Xavi Ross goes up into third. Jakob now puts on some soft tyres to go out and go hunting. And Maciej Winnick has made his way back into the pit, and he's going to drop outside of the top 10 as a result of that. Probably even behind Munier, who he was fighting before Ross.
Sometimes the racing gods throw you a twist, and this is one of those times when it was all to gain for Maciej Winnick. It all goes so wrong through no fault of his own. Similarly for Loic Munier, but this time it was contact with Sergio Fletcher, who is now surely set to win this race on the road. But you must think that the disciplinary committee is going to be involved. It was such a brief moment. It wasn't like he tried to take him out. Of course, no one would try to take anybody out in GPVWC, but just a misjudgment, a slight differentiation of lines. I would argue racing incidents, be quite frank, but with the implications that that has on the race, on the season, on the championship picture in the GPVWC Super League World Championship. Wow, what a change. What a moment. Suddenly, we could be looking at potentially a few weeks down the line, Xavi Ross winning this race. Just when you think the Hungaroring didn't have anything left for it to serve us, it gives us a moment like that. I'm going to hold back and stop calling it a treat, because I don't think it was a treat. It was quite a controversial moment, but wow, this race, you know, anyone who says the Hungaroring is boring, forget it, get out, go do something else with your time. I hear that Valorant's probably quite fun for esports people, because this has been absolutely brilliant, as there's still action everywhere you look.
Yeah, that's Soltero in this fight, not Mounier, because Mounier made another pit stop. I thought he was going to the end, but perhaps not. And that's Tom Stevens trying to force his way around the outside, but getting twitchy as he does so, and stays in 13th position for now. So Loic Mounier once again dropping outside of the points. Jose Soriano made a stop on that last lap. He had actually lost the position already to Mark Schluter, and then decided to pull into the pits. He's now rejoined the race in 11th place, so only just outside of the top 10, and could well fight his way back in if Lucas Murno continues to drop a little further. But yeah, Fletcher's now extended his lead out to 3 seconds over Xavi Ross, both of them on soft tyres. I think the race is between those two now, and if I sound slightly gutted after what's just happened, it's because I am, both in terms of the race and also in terms of the championship. I was very much looking forward to seeing the two protagonists, as Norbert Jakob here gets a run on Jan Grankvist and goes to the inside, and the home crowd goes wild as Norbert Jakob goes through into 8th position, passes the 2024 world champion. But yeah, I was very much looking forward to seeing the two championship leaders going in to the last 6 races of the season exactly equal on points, and that is just not going to happen anymore. And there's a good chance that neither Mounier nor Winnick will end up scoring points today, and that ends up giving, well, ironically, the person it would benefit most would be Sergio Fletcher, but I think, to be honest, it makes the whole thing a little bit of a stalemate after all that. I'm looking at the YouTube chat to see what people make of it. Alessandro Maggio says potentially Winnick moved in the braking zone. I'm sure that will be what Alessandro's defense is. I think he was probably just taking a normal line. That's not a corner where you do brake. I mean, I'm sure you know this. I'm explaining this to someone who does it much more than I do, but that's not a corner where you brake parallel to the edge of the circuit. You do come across slightly just to make the turn, and that's exactly what Winnick was doing, and he had no reasonable way of knowing that Fletcher was going to make a dive for it like that. So I'm afraid I have to be more in the boat of Alex Laho here, who says that Mache didn't move under braking. That's literally the racing line. These things happen at the end of the day. It's racing. Jose Soriano, meanwhile, sets the fastest lap of the race and gets right onto the tail of Lucas Murno. He's just 0.4 of a second back as we speak. And here is Winnick overtaking the championship leader. Maciej Winnick goes through into 17th position, runs a little bit wide, and Mounier cuts back underneath him. And if we... Oh, and look at this. Cuts back to the outside again. Winnick trying to go around the outside of Loic Mounier. And he has the inside for the next corner. Doesn't quite have the overlap anymore. If we rewound about... maybe 30 laps before Mounier's incident, this would have been a very interesting battle, but unfortunately this may end up being for just 1 point, or not even that at this point in time. But anyway, good defensive driving from Mounier there, despite Winnick trying everything in his power to gain yet another position.
Well, for me, I still think that probably errs on the side of racing incident, but given the context of that collision between Fletcher and Winnick, and the inevitable outcome of that in terms of post-race disciplinary committee stewards having a look at it, I can only say, quite frankly, that Loic Mounier owes Sergio Fletcher a beer, because there will be a penalty going the way of Sergio Fletcher, certainly. but it has also put Winnick in a position where he was going to completely nullify the advantage of Loic Mounier. Oh no, Mounier's got more contact. Hang on a second, guys. Come on, you're fighting for a championship here. What are we doing? Eris Masculi and Loic Mounier locking wheels on the way into PK corner. It's not done just yet. I was about to go on some spiel about how we could all calm down, but no. Stay on alert, people. Everyone, full DEFCON, because this race is not over yet.
Yeah.
Hungary, just everyone, can we just calm down, please?
Yeah, the lines kind of merged there. I think Masculi was coming across a bit more than Mounier, which makes sense because he was going to get a very shallow line for the corner, but you know, you can't drive into the side of someone, so I think that's more on Masculi. But luckily, they've all just about got away with that one. There may be a little bit of damage, but luckily, no one ended up pointing in the wrong direction. Mounier and Winnick are now just 1 place away from picking up points, or at least Mounier is, and Winnick, of course, 2 places away. But they've already found Mateusz Majka. They found the tail of the FTR car, and they'll set about trying to overtake him. Another fastest lap of the race now for Jose Soriano. He has got through into 10th position. I think it might be too little too late to get any further up than that, because he's got about 8 seconds to find before Jan Granqvist in front of him. But now let's watch Mounier again as he goes for an attack on the FTR, and I think there's going to be... Oh no, they're okay. They've got away with it. And Mounier drives round the outside. I was wondering if there was going to be a little bit more wheel bang in there, but they were wise to it. And Winnick now up the inside. Oh, and a big twitch from Mounier. Mounier is going to get caught out here. And Winnick drives around the outside of him, straight through turn 3. Up the hill, he's going to get the advantage because he'll find the inside line. And they're still side by side. Mounier does not want to back out. He's been over the white line, though. He may have to back out just because of the rules. Oh, and he does touch with Majka. Oh, and Majka gives him a biff as he rejoins the road. Mounier gets to place. Majka gets a face full of carbon fibre. And up into the points goes Winnick.
I think they've got a few drivers now getting a bit hot under the helmet due to the hot conditions out on the track, due to the hot conditions we've got in Europe at the moment. It's a long old race here at the Hungaroring, and I think we're now starting to see tempers beginning to boil, especially for these two, the championship leaders in Loic Mounier, in Maciej Winnick, who have found themselves down the order through faults not of their own. One thing that could change potentially is Sergio Fletcher. Let's be honest, he's going to get a penalty for that. You know, again, the context of the incident with Maciej, there is going to be a post-race penalty for that. But he's still going to get some solid points on the board. Carlos Martin as well is still going to get some solid points. We look at the championship table here, Caitlin. They're 42 points and 46 points away, respectively, Fletcher and Martin, from Loic Mounier. And if Mounier and Winnick are going to struggle and potentially not score points in this race, this could potentially leapfrog those two into being slight dark horses into this championship fight. So suddenly, even though these two incidents have maybe separated us from an even Stevens equal points going through to the last kind of couple rounds of the season, well, not couple rounds, but the last kind of end of the season, the business end, we could have 2 extra drivers being elevated into the championship fight. Yes, it would be a long shot, but again, we know the quality of Sergio Fletcher and Valley Esports. We know the quality of Carlos Martin and HRT. Suddenly, this is shaping up to expand the championship picture even further going forward into rounds 11 from 16.
As much as I respect Sergio Fletcher and as much as I like him as a person, I think this would be a shame in terms of a way to get yourself back into the championship fight. He did not do it deliberately by any means, but it does feel wrong to be talking about this being a good thing for Sergio Fletcher. As for Carlos Martin, he may end up regretting giving those points away to Maciej Winnick at the last Grand Prix. I know it's the right thing for the team at the time, but if he is elevated back into a championship fight, then those may end up being some very valuable points in that one. Another thing to note in terms of this actual Grand Prix is that it's not done yet. Obviously, there are different penalties that the stewards can give. So even if a penalty is awarded, we don't know how much of a time penalty that is actually going to be. You can award penalties as weak as a 5-second penalty. And if that was awarded, then Sergio Fletcher would still win the race. He's 9 seconds and gaining and pulling away ahead of Xavi Ross as we speak. So we have to call it as we see it when we cross the line. Sergio Fletcher is on course to win this race. But those penalties can also go up higher. I think the strictest penalty that I've seen in Super League, I swear I've seen it as something like a 1-minute penalty before. Realistically, it's going to be 10-25 seconds, or 10 or 25 seconds for the collision between Fletcher and Winnick. And if it's 10 seconds, he's nearly pulled that over Ross as well. So there's a chance that he can still get a penalty and win this race. So when I say it's not over yet, it is still not going to be over until literally possibly weeks after this Grand Prix is finished. And it's going to be decided in the race director's booth. I'm afraid they have a real decision to make, and it could end up influencing both the race and the championship. There was another brief yellow flag because Eros Masciuli has retired from the race, so that means that unfortunately we've lost 8 of our 28 starters, and only 20 drivers remain in this one. But Masciuli there, I wonder if he picked up some damage from that collision, or maybe it was something different altogether, Ross.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Eros. He was having a pretty solid run of things. Let's have a look here, coming into the final sector for the Adonis Engineering driver, into the third to last corner, the right-hander, and just runs it a bit deep. And then the penultimate corner, and all looks okay. Ran it deep into the previous turn, and then pit lane. Yes, yeah, was there damage in the pit wall potentially, or is it a we've had enough, let's call it a day kind of job? I'm going to go with the latter. He's made it into the pit lane, running.
He wouldn't be pitting.
Yeah, there's a slight kink on the steering wheel, so there was a little bit of suspension damage coming in. Makes his way into his pit box, and we're going to assume that he goes up on the jacks and then calls it there. Yes, he does. So that's a real shame for Eros Masciuli. Obviously, the damage a bit too much. Decides to potentially save the engine a little bit, given that there was nothing on the table with the handful of laps left in this one. So a real shame for Eros Masciuli on lap 66 of 70. I think it's safe to say, Caitlin, we can call this evening's results as provisional, because, quite frankly, Sergio Fletcher, again, we're expecting to get a penalty. We don't know that. We'll call it as it is. We have seen that before. Omar Gorgi, of course, did win Australia the opening round of the season on the road. Did get a penalty post-race a couple of weeks later that dropped him down to 8th place at the end of it. We do have a long yellow flag in Sector 3. Philip Pushka letting Norbert Jakab through. Hopefully everything's okay in Sector 3. Still not okay in Sector 3. That's why Yunus Karula has pulled off to the side of the road and is facing the wrong way, actually. So he's dropped it and done a 180.
Come on, Yunus.
The right-hander. Does keep it going, though. Determined to finish the race, at least, which is great to see. Come on, as you said, Caitlin, come on, Yunus. We always want to see somebody on their Super League debut get to the checkered flag, even if the result is not what they wanted to see. So, yellow flag's now gone. He may come into the pits if he's touched the barrier, potentially. But he'll continue on his way. But yes, I think it's safe to say that these results are currently provisional, as we're going to be going towards the end of the race, given the absolute chaos we've had at the Hungaroring this evening. Sergio Fletcher is set to win on the road, but Sandeep Singh, the head of our disciplinary committee, has got a big job on his hands over the next couple of weeks.
And a big job is going on track here. Xavi Ross is dropping back into the hands of Carlos Martin.
This could be for the race win as well.
Yes, I mean, it's more likely for second place. But look at this, Yannick Bock taking a look at the back of Carlos Martin's car as well. What did I say at the start of this one? Keep your eyes on Yannick Bock. He could still end up on the podium here. Yartayan is right with them for company, and then not too far back, they've got the two True North cars just a few seconds back down the road. That was a bit of a speculative move there from Yannick Bock. He is on those soft tyres as well. He knows that he's got to do this as quickly as he can before those tyres start to bite bite the dust. Xavi Ross is also on those soft tyres, and I believe they have already started to bite the dust somewhat. He was a lot faster at the start of this stint, and you can see the graining, and Carlos Martin is trying to come through as well. You can see more yellow flags in the third sector there, so hopefully everything's okay. I didn't mean to sound sarcastic when I said come on Younes, by the way, or come on Caruala. I do genuinely want him to finish this one because he's so close to the end of it, and with this being his first Super League race, and with him being a driver who hasn't even competed in Super Lights, I think it would be an achievement in and of itself if he was to finish it. Xavi Ross now goes right over to the pit wall to defend from Carlos Martin. He still gets the slipstream, but he's too far back, and that shows you the little margins that can make a difference between a driver successfully pulling off a move or not doing so. Carlos is shown the door on the outside and decides not to go through it. That was going to be a door that was going to close, and Xavi maintains that second position for another lap. We're getting very close to the end of the race now. They have just this one and then two more at the end of this one before completing it, so he's just got to hold on until then. More yellow flags on track. Oh, was that Lucas Murno losing a place there? Someone lost place around that part of the order. I'll try to keep an eye on it. Jan Grankvist, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at the order, how it was a lap ago. But yeah, I think Grankvist may have had a quick spin there. He's dropped back 4 seconds from Soriano. Okay, well, Grankvist down into 10th position now. It's not been a typical Jan Grankvist performance today. And here is Xavi Ross still holding that second position, but just 2 laps to go from the start of this one, Ross.
And again, we'll call it provisionally. This is potentially for the lead of the race as well, because we suspect there's going to be a penalty heading Sergio Fletcher's way, but he does also have a 13.5 second advantage, so it may not be. So who's to guess? Who knows what's going to happen? We've got a 4-car train in this fight for P2. It is countryman against countryman for the final 2 places on the podium. The 2-time champion in Yannick Bock is just behind, and then last year's vice champion in Yaltine is there with them as well, and what has been a pretty dire day for THR as well. It is all to play for late in the day here at the Hungaroring. Let's see what we've got in store, if the racing gods have one final little twist for us in store, with 2 laps, more like 1.5 left to go. Ross still leads, Carlos Martin still leads, Yannick Bock still leads Yaltine in this fight. It's all going to be about down into turn 1, then turn 2, then turn 6, 7, because those are the only real overtaking opportunities at this racetrack. Maybe turn 4 if you are lucky. Sergio Fletcher has started the final lap of this race. He is set to win on the road as it stands, but we'll wait to see what's in store. Already Ross pulling over to the inside, the dirty side of the track, trying to break the toe. Martin goes to the outside, they bang wheels. Look to the inside as well for Yannick Bock. Tom Stevens there, or Yaltine should I say, there as well. Side by side between Martin and Ross. Carlos Martin's going to go through. Here comes Yannick Bock to the outside. He's on the marbles and loose, but he's going to get through anyway. Surely, somehow, maybe not. Side by side, nearly 3 abreast into turn 4. Oh my word, what a move. What a move by Yannick Bock. He's up into 3rd place, and Xavi Ross has lost 2 and a handful of corners. What a moment. That is why Yannick Bock is a 2-time champion. Brilliant stuff from the German.
Ross ran wide. I was sure he was going to keep the position, and then he didn't, through to sheer grit and determination from Yannick Bock. That is the move of the season so far to claim what will be a podium finish. Is there another sting in the tail? Martin still has to navigate a few more corners with Bock breathing down his neck. Meanwhile, Sergio Fletcher does cross the line in 1st position. His gap's going to be about 15 seconds. There is still a question mark hanging over it, but we're going to call it as we see it. Sergio Fletcher wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. Prix. Carlos Martin at the final corner claims second position ahead of Yannick Bock with a fantastic final lap overtake. Xavi Ross is fourth, Yartayan is fifth, and then it's Schluter, Jakob, Pushke, Soriano, and Murno. Wow, Grankvist lost 2 more positions at the end there. He's really struggling in these last few laps. So Murno claims the last spot in the top 10, and then it's going to be Soltero. Will it be Grankvist? Can he even hold on from Fournier here? He does. So Grankvist stays 12th, Fournier is 13th, and then it's going to be Stevens, Munier, and Winnick. So Munier overtook Winnick in the last few laps there. Not sure we saw that. So Winnick's actually dropped back quite a way. Okay, well that's something we've got to do a bit of digging on. But anyway, it's only going to matter for 1 point there to Loic Meunier. It's a 2-point swing, I suppose you could call it. Meunier does extend his championship lead, at least over Mathieu Winnick. Fletcher and Martin will get a little bit closer. But yeah, that's how the points are rounded out. And then also finishing the race, Mathieu Winnick, despite being unceremoniously dumped off the road, and such a shame for him. I think he was going to win the race. Mateusz Majka, oh, I needed to do it at least once, didn't I? Mateusz Majka finishes in 17th position. Che Hatch is 18th, Tomasz Vok is 19th, and Younes Karaala does complete his first Super League Grand Prix in 20th position. We're going to see a replay now, and this is Loic Meunier, and you can see he's still on the tail of Mathieu Winnick here, and I expect so. Oh, it's Grankvist. Is it Grankvist? Oh, it's Karaala. Oh no, Karaala rejoins straight into the side of Winnick and takes him off the road. Well, I don't quite know what was going on with Karaala there. You can see he's well off the track and tries to spin turn it and just drives straight into the side of Mathieu Winnick. Now, because Karaala finished outside of the points, if he does receive a penalty, which I'm sure he will for that, it won't be a time penalty because that simply won't affect him. That will probably be a grid penalty for the next time he competes in Super League. A shame, because I was just about to compliment him for completing his first Super League race, and he still needs to be commended for that, but that's a little bit of a blot on his copybook there with an incident that was clearly his mistake. Sergio Fletcher has won it on the road, and I expect with the gap that he built up at the end there, he will probably keep that victory. So Sergio Fletcher wins the Hungarian Grand Prix ahead of Carlos Martin. Yannick Bock, what a move that was on the last lap. Definitely the move of the season so far. Xavi Ross P4, then Yartayan P5, then it's Schluter, Jakob, Pushke, Soriano, and Murno, the rest of the top 10. And the other points go to Oscar Soltero, Jan Grankvist, Jeffrey Fournier, Tom Stevens, and Loic Meunier. Mathieu Winnick, unlucky to miss out on points after several accidents in the end. Mateusz Majka P17, then Che Hatch, Tomasz Vok, and Younes Karaala, who completed 67 of the total 70 laps. Retiring from the race, unfortunately, Eris Masculi, who DNF'd to the pits, Dylan Fisher, who had a strange lag spike earlier on, Tom Vandervoort, who we didn't see, Owen McGorky, who had a bizarre glitch where he couldn't change tyres, and that's a shame because I think he could have won this race and probably would have done. Alessandro Maggio with yet another disconnection. We're very used to that by now. Ruben Machete had an accident off screen, Davia Maritz had an accident on screen, and Shimon Frelich apparently needed the toilet, and that is the reason that he DNF'd. That is his words, not mine. So those were the runners and riders in this Super League Grand Prix. It was a hectic one. Not my favourite race of the season, I'm not going to lie. I'm not a big fan of the way that some of the things went down today, but even so, it provided action, it provided excitement, and it's one that we'll be talking about for a little while, I'm sure. As soon as I get the article out for the Belgian Grand Prix, and I am sorry that that one's late. I'm sure I will have a lot to write about for this one as well, and I have that to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time. But Ross, what do you make of the Hungarian Grand Prix?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, Caitlin, because I thought that was absolutely great. I love a bit of chaos sometimes. I mean, again, no one wants to see things end, post-race in the stewards, and obviously it's never nice seeing championship fighters get involved with incidents, but people say that the Hungaroring is boring. That was not boring. That was an absolute firecracker of a race. And again, Caitlin, even if you didn't enjoy it from a personal, this is how I like racing to be level, I'm sure that you can agree that that was certainly a spectacle.
Oh yeah, 100%. No one was bored. No one at all was bored in that. You sometimes speak to the driver. We sometimes get great races that go down without a hitch, and you speak to the drivers and they say, "That was boring. I was just running to my own pace. There was no one around me." I don't think there's a single driver who's going to say that after today. I mean, I'm sure we will speak to some drivers very shortly, but that just did not seem to be something that was happening. We're going to speak to Carlos Martin. Obviously, a lot of drivers who were in contention dropped back towards the end of that one. One driver who benefited from all of that and raised himself up the order was Carlos Martin. Carlos, hello. Do you hear us okay?
Yes, I do hear you.
Perfect. That was a really hectic one. While it's still fresh in your memory, what a fight to end the race on.
Yes, give me a second.
Oh, that's
sorry,
okay.
I'm back. Come, sorry.
That's okay. I think we're having some technical difficulties, but that's all right.
No, it's all right. Can you repeat the question, please, Kaylin? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So, no, I was just saying how you raised yourself up the order towards the end and then had that really hectic fight with Xavi Ross and Yannick Bock. Can you talk us through that battle that ended the race so dramatically?
Yeah, well, I saw Xavi dropping pace. I knew he had a very long way to go, 20 laps, and maybe possibilities could happen. I was more thinking on how to hold Yannick and how to hold Jarl. So I was saving the tires a lot and just praying that I wouldn't be in danger. And yeah, the last lap attempt, well, I don't understand why drivers try to push you to the outside when they are not entitled to, when you're entitled to go for the outside. They already move defensively once and then they try to squeeze you to the outside when you're alongside, and that's why we had contact. And my car was completely battered. Thankfully it was the last lap and not another one, because I would have been overtaken back. I know there is a lot to check, because there was an incident between Mace and Sergio, and almost happened to me as well into turn 2. I had to go 6 meters or 7 meters off the apex to avoid contact, so I don't think the race is over tonight, unfortunately.
No, and we were saying the same thing in the commentary booth. There was a little bit of a gap between you guys in the end, so it may end up not mattering that much. But even so, yeah, fair enough. It could well. We don't know. But no. Another thing I was going to ask you about, Carlos, was obviously the last couple of races, qualifying and the race result have not matched up in the slightest. Is it that you're qualifying poorly or racing well, or a bit of both? What's going on there?
Well, I have a shoulder injury since quite some time. I took surgery before Spa. The day before, and I have to take surgery again because it's not sorted. I struggle a lot driving to the limit and to last during the race. My race was actually very slow. I don't know what happened in the mid-pack, that they were holding the group of Granvis, the group of Norbert, the group of Mark, which was essentially got a free pit stop. Yeah, we got held up in the first stint, but we acknowledged that. We knew that starting on hards will give us nothing extra. So we decided to throw away the soft stint. Yeah, there were some interesting defensive, reactive moves in the back, which I'm not too happy about. And well, next time, well, we know what are the rules for racing.
Yeah, fair enough. That was going to be my other question, actually, about soft tires at the start of the race, but you've answered that very neatly and nicely for me there. I was wondering, I'm joined by Ross McIntyre again. My goodness, it's been a while, but yeah, Ross, do you have anything else to add for Carlos here?
I do. First of all, Vamos Carlito, what a race, mate. I can tell you're not happy with things at the end of the day, and that's totally understandable and totally fair, but you still had a really, really great drive. You know, you've finished on the podium on the road. There's surely some positives you can take from this to move forward towards the back end of the season.
Well, I'm not happy with the racing overall. I mean, I race here to enjoy, to have a competitive environment, and I think just some people take it a bit too far when it comes to competitiveness. They just different teams just compromising their own races to favor the others, and others racing in pack of eights in this kind of tracks that are I don't know, impossible to overtake. We just got advantage of their way of thinking. Who would have thought that starting on soft was the right choice from P14 at Hungaroring? But yeah, I'm very salty right now. But tomorrow will be a different day, even though I finished second, at least for now.
Fair enough. I like that attitude, Carlos, and you raced very, very well. You have a lot to take from this, so congratulations on a very good podium.
Thank you.
So that was Carlos Martin there. The reason we went to P2 first is simply because P1 was not yet ready, but we can now speak to Sergio Fletcher. Sergio, hello, can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Fantastic. Sergio, I'd love to start on anything else, but we have been talking a lot about the incident with Maciej. I'd very quickly like to, well, for as long as you'd like to dwell on that, could you let us know what's happened?
I haven't checked the incident yet, so I'm not sure, but I think from my side, I think it was 100% on me, which is a shame because Maciej was doing a great race. He's a good friend of mine. I obviously didn't want that to happen, so I'm really sorry for him.
I expect you'll speak to Maciej about that later and just see how you both
Yeah, I shot him a message already after when the race ended, but if he wants to talk later, I'll talk with him, no problem.
Yeah, that's fair enough. What do you expect to come from this?
I am expecting a penalty. That's why I pushed at the last stint to try and get a gap. I don't think it's not enough.
See, we were wondering what kind of penalty it might be, because obviously you gained about 15 seconds at the end there, but the stewards have a lot of different penalties to choose from, which could be anything from 5 seconds up to a minute. So is there anything that you kind of had in mind when you were pushing at the end there?
Honestly, I was just like, I'll push and get the biggest gap I can, just in case. That's all I could do, really.
Fair enough,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a shame because I think I drove a great race. I had to get through traffic and I made some good risky overtakes. And it's a shame because I don't think I'll keep the win, but at least happy with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting you there, Sergio. I was going to say exactly the same thing, which is that, yes, we've spoken a lot about the incident, and especially during the race. But it should be worth pointing out that you did drive a very good race, both strategically and on track as well.
Thank you.
Where did you get that pace from? How did you find so much pace, not just yourself, but as a team?
Honestly, I had that strategy locked in from yesterday. Felt like I was sacrificing a bit of time in the first and second stints. In the first stint, I destroyed my tires more than I should have. I even pitted a lap too late, in my opinion. But yeah, I just trusted that the third stint with the softs was the game changer on the whole strategy, and that's where I made the most progress. And I think I caught like 5 seconds to match it when I came out of the pits with the softs. So yeah, whatever time I gained on the first and second stints, I gained it back on the softs. I always trusted the long run. That's why I didn't panic too much.
So was that the plan? Just long run so that the soft tire would be more effective?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it definitely seemed to work out, and your pace at the end was fantastic. That was all of the questions that came to my mind. Ross, I was wondering, do you have anything else to add?
I don't have anything else to add. I do have a question, though. Obviously, congratulations, Sergio, on the win for the time being, anyway. We'll wait to see what the disciplinary committee says, but it was a great drive. Just a question about how it was out there. Obviously, it was a ridiculously hot track. Very, very hot in the air as well, both in game and for everyone in Europe as well. How was it dealing with that race physically? for you, both from a being in the sim rig perspective and then having to deal with the tyres in game?
Oof. I have aircon in my house. I have a fan pointing straight at my
someone's
face.
flash. Someone's rich. Wow.
Even like that, I think I lost more weight than an F1 driver in the Singapore Grand Prix. So, yeah, it was very tough. Mainly this track, 70 laps, it gets really long. Also, tires, you have to be so
Yeah.
sensitive. Mainly in turn 2, if you make a mistake, you just get a big slip and it snowballs from there on tire wear. So, yeah.
Yeah, not surprised in the slightest. It definitely looked that way. Yeah, before we let you go, Sergio, I do want to apologize because in the broadcast, I did sound quite dejected about what had happened, but I don't want to make you out to be the bad guy or whatever. I think you are a fantastic driver, and I just want to set the record straight and say that while I also think the incident was your fault, I don't hold that against you. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. I'll take it. I think it's my fault. It's a shame. I don't know if Match is watching this, but yeah, I want to apologize again. So obviously, I never wanted it to end that way, and even less him. I'm on really good terms with him. He's a really good guy. So yeah, sorry, Match. If he reports, I understand, and I'll take it and move on.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Sergio. A good competitor as ever, and a very good drive.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
All right. I've been looking forward to this one. Next, we should. Well, he's got his microphone muted now, but we'll drag him in and see if we can. Yannick Bock, hello. Do you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Fantastic. Yannick, it's been a very long time. I think years since I last spoke to you in a commentary box like this. But yeah, fantastic drive. I said right from the start of the race that you would be one to look out for. And that final lap move absolutely drove it home. Talk us through that absolute masterpiece of driving, please.
Well, actually, I'm not really happy with my race today. I made some mistakes. But yeah, in the first stint, I could save some tires, but I got stuck behind the cars, which also tried to stop, but were, in my opinion, a bit slower. And then I made a mistake and tried the undercut, which ended up in pitting in a pile-up of like 10 cars, and I lost a lot of time and tires and everything. So I was very unhappy. Yeah, and then in the end, before the last pit stop, I made a mistake on the in-lap, which could have gotten me in front of Carlos, maybe. So yeah, I was like just behind. And then in the last lap, I knew Xavi had no tires left, so I just tried, and I nearly lost it around turn 2. But then I tried to keep it, and yeah, it worked. Xavi was very fair, and I think it was a nice move, but yeah, in the end, P3, I think the result is good, but like I said, the race could have been better.
I mean, that's the kind of move that gets... Oh, sorry, I accidentally muted myself there, but no, I was just saying it was a fantastic move at the end there. Your pace as well, super quick despite having to deal with so much traffic, and that little shower as well, that was strange. Were you expecting weather to play into it at all today?
No, I had no idea. I never drove in the rain in this mod. I had no idea. And then it was raining, but it was only 1%. It was very weird. Then suddenly, the lights shut off somehow. It felt like it.
Yeah.
I had, no visibility. It was very strange. I did not expect it at all, and I think no one did. But yeah, in the end, it didn't play a big factor, I think. I mean, maybe it was a bit more slippery some laps, but not that big of an impact, but yeah, it's a weird stuff.
No, the reason I bring that up is because I think that was about the time you went onto soft tires, and I was wondering if that was an influence into that decision, but it sounds like not really.
Sorry again?
No, sorry, I do speak a bit fast. No, I was just saying around the time it was raining was when you went onto soft tires, and I thought that gave you an advantage, and I was wondering if that played into your decision.
I think when it was raining, I was on old hards, and I thought, oh shit, this could be an issue. But like I said, it was maybe a bit slippery, but not fully, and I just tried to keep my lines like they were before, because the big issue for me was the visibility with the suddenly dark everywhere. So you need to get new markers for braking and stuff. so it was a bit of an issue. But yeah, I think everyone had that problem. So yeah, it was a weird state of after, I would say. I don't know. I think no one expected stuff like this.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but hey, as you said, it didn't really end up affecting things, and you end up getting back on with your charge up to the podium. We're starting to really expect this from you, actually. I mean, you had that win in San Marino, and I never had a chance to say congrats for that, but yeah, really, really good stuff there. And now you're on the podium for the second time this season. Do you reckon you can keep it up going forward?
I hope so. I mean, we also had some bad results where we didn't really know what was going wrong. I think like engine percentage is kind of a big factor, especially on other tracks. So I'm lucky that I made it work with the 40% today. But yeah, you never know what happens. But obviously, when I'm racing, I try to be as good as I can and be on top of the podium if it's possible.
And my final question for you is, where were you during the Belgian Grand Prix?
Actually, I was at the Belgian Grand Prix, but like in Belgium.
Oh, you were there in person?
Yes.
And that's why you missed the Super League? Oh,
yes,
shame, but
yes.
hey, that's I'm very jealous. That's amazing.
Yeah, we have a good group of guys, and then we go camping there. So it was just dates which were the same.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Yannick, and I'll let you go now.
No problem. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Since that was the Hungarian Grand Prix, I haven't actually told him I'm going to drag him in, so hopefully we don't catch him off guard. But I was wondering if we could yoink Norbert Jakob out of the interview waiting chat. Norbert, hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It was a fun race. A lot of stuff happened. But most importantly, at least I finished my home race for the first time, so it was nice.
Indeed. I'm not sure if this is going to make much sense to you, but the BMW fared well.
Oh yes, I saw it. Toby messaged me at the beginning of practice, like, yeah, we have this issue. But at that moment, I was just so focused on everything that was going on, because usually I have my own rhythm during the official practice. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they will manage to figure out something, or like you guys will manage to figure out something. And then now when I was waiting, I was actually watching that lap, and to be honest, it was peak. So yeah, lovely.
Yes, it was quite funny actually. So Norbert, obviously this is your home Grand Prix. Is it a circuit you particularly like?
No, I think it's one of my most hated tracks. The only reason why I kinda like it is just because it's in my home country, but basically that's it. It's really hard for me to get like into a rhythm during the races. Obviously, it's also like very tough to overtake, and yeah. But based on even last year as well, I think Ross knows a bit more about that. I truly hate this track.
Yeah, honestly, that's fair enough. I got that impression from what Ross was saying. But anyway, one thing I noticed is that you ran basically the entire day right with your teammate. I mean, you qualified alongside him, and then you were very close with him all the way through, and then you finished. Oh my goodness, I've just seen you finish 6th and 7th. My goodness. But anyway, very evenly matched at True North, eh?
Yeah, well, we were put into different strategies as well. After like lap 10 or 15, like our race engineer decided to put Mark into 2 stops. He put me into 3 stops because my tires were more degraded at that point. But yeah, even during the practice, before the race, we were like pretty much like thousands were separating us, our like personal best lap times. So we were quite matching each other paces. We also like sandbagged the same in qualifying as well. And we also had like quite similar race pace as well here today. So yeah, but obviously it's always nice to have your teammate around because you can help each other. Obviously we weren't really like close to each other for like what 50 laps of the 70 in the race. But yeah, it was pretty nice.
Fair enough. Well, 7th place is some good points for you, and considering you've missed a couple of rounds now, it's good to get those points on the board. How are you feeling about the rest of the season going forwards?
Yeah, it will be tricky. Well, we shall see if somebody like gave me a paper with the text written on it that I will get like P7s for the remainder of the season every race. I think I would sign it because I can already see that I will be rather quite busy coming into the into autumn. So yeah, it will be definitely interesting. But considering that I was also like very busy in spring and I managed to grab 2 podiums early in the season, I think you can never say never. So yeah, and I'm still like desperately fighting for my victory, and I think a lot of people who knows me kind of expect it from me at one point. But yeah, looking back at the past few rounds, I think my performance was just rather disappointing for myself. Today as well, I mean, race pace was kind of alright, but I choked big time in qualifying. So obviously, especially in this track from P11 or 12, I'm not even sure. I think it was P12 on the grid. Even getting P7 is like amazing.
Fair enough. Well, before I hand you over, obviously we got Ross here as well, and I know you guys get along quite well. I'm wondering what you'll say, Ross, if I say, do you have anything for Norbert?
Yes, I have many things for Norbert Jakab. So first of all, Norbert, great race, mate. I mean, I know you don't like the Hungaroring, but you know, drove pretty steadily. I mean, you can be pretty happy with that, surely. I mean, it's another really solid result in both your and the team's first year in GPVWC Super League.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it from that point of view, yes. But you know, I also have the feeling that you definitely commentator curse me again. Like, you know, I just can't imagine like you not mentioning anything about me during the qualifying while I was choking big time and ruining all my laps.
Yeah, well, that's not my problem. That's your problem, quite frankly. And on that note, right, let's be real, okay? You don't like the Hungaroring. You don't like Langosh. You spend half your time in Denmark. Is it time to admit you're not really Hungarian?
Well, I'm more Hungarian than you, I think.
Well, obviously,
yeah, I mean...
I'm not from Hungary.
But yeah, I mean, let's put it in a way that I have an unlimited time in the future in a different country other than Hungary, but I spent the first 18 years of my life in my lovely home country, and you know, it might be only a matter of time when I move back. So yeah, but obviously it's an amazing feeling to at least virtually feel the home crowd and the home track, you know.
Yeah, that's rough. Well, that's all from me. Thanks a lot, Norbert, mate.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Norbert. So what I took from that then is that he may not like the Hungarian track, he may not be the most Hungarian, but at least he's still hungry for results. Last but very much not least, we are going to bring in Xavi Ross. That was quite a battle on the final lap. Xavi, do you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Good stuff, good stuff. You so nearly hung on. What a battle on the last lap there. Can you talk us through the last phase of the race where you were trying to hang on for dear life?
Yeah, it was pure pain, to be honest. I had a lot more tire degradation than expected. And yeah, 5 laps to go, I was completely melted on tires and I tried to do my best.
But, I mean, the temperatures definitely didn't help today. How hard was it to keep the tires in check?
Well, a lot. I mean, from the beginning, I tried to do a very conservative strategy, trying to build as much traffic behind me as possible, because I knew tires would be crucial, and if I got the chance to save one pit stop, was going to be better. But yeah, things didn't play my way, and I got more tire degradation than expected, and yeah. I was expecting a win, to be honest, but the things didn't turn out my way.
Hey, it's only your second top 5 finish in Super League, so I'm sure it's still something that you at least should be happy with it. Do you have things that you can take from this and take them forward into the season?
Yeah, sure. I mean, from Silverstone, I think I did a click of myself, and I think I've proven. Exception from Spa, because with the weather, the rain and things, I messed up completely with the setup and I had to retire. But on a dry race again, I showed pace again, so yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. Also another top 5 finish, and yeah, I hope after the summer break I can keep with the good results.
I'm sure you will. Like you say, when you get that first result, it all just clicks sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll see more from you. But yeah, well done on a very good performance today. Couldn't quite hang on to the podium at the end, but you gave it an excellent shot.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but let's see what happens with Sergio, if he's gonna get a penalty or not. Maybe there is some chances we can step on the 3rd place of the podium.
It's entirely possible, yes. So that's worth looking for. All right, thank you very much, Xavi. So that is all that we have time for in this broadcast. I would like to say quite a few different thank yous today. The first one being to Fabian Youngbloth, our broadcast director. I said at the start of the broadcast that Fabian jumped in very last minute. He was not expecting to be the broadcast director today, and yet with about 2 seconds notice, he decided to jump in and help us out. And if that hadn't happened, who knows what could have happened with the broadcast. So thank you so much to Fabian Youngbloth for sorting that out, and also to Toby Davis for messaging him and making sure that we had a broadcast on. Thank you as well to Ross McIntyre. Russ, I know it's been a little while, and it's honestly so good to be back in the broadcast room with you. I always look forward to that, and it's just a bit of a shame it hasn't happened for a while, but you know, I guess this too shall pass or whatever. But yeah, good to see you back again. And for such a frantic race, I can't think of any other person who I'd rather have sat alongside for it. Thank you to all of the drivers who joined in for the interview section at the end, and of course all the drivers in general for putting on a show, as they always do. And thank you to all of you in the broadcast room in the YouTube chat rather, for watching along and hopefully enjoying as much as we always do. Ross, before we end the broadcast, what a day of racing, and my goodness, we have some more of this to look forward to, don't we?
We certainly do. I mean, that was something else, wasn't it? It was just a bit chaotic from start to finish. Maybe not the most stereotypically great race in terms of just pure action from start to finish, but I've had an absolute great time. And again, it's been a pleasure being back alongside you as well, Caitlin. It's been far too long, as you said. But yes, a great way to continue on our GPVWC Super League merits. And of course, we go again in 2 weeks at the Hungaroring.
So that's it from myself, Ross, Fabian Youngbloth, and GPWC. And we will see you in just a couple of weeks. Goodbye.